me hearties. Welcome aboard the good ship QI, where tonight we're scouring the oceans of interestingness in search of Flotsam in a programme that's more or less a ragbag of bits and pieces, beginning with F, and helping me to separate the facts from fiction and the flim from flam are the effortless Charlie Higson. The effervescent Andy Hamilton. The ineffable Rob Brydon. And the sweet F in sweet FA, Alan Davies. But before we slip anchor and catch the tide, Matterlows, let me inspect your bell buttons. So Charlie goes... Andy goes... Let's do that. Rob goes...
Oh, I do like inside.
Oh, and Alan goes...
What is it, lad?
Now, for your convenience tonight, if you have anything nautical or nice to tell me, you can actually catch my eye, as well as using your buzzer, by waving your international maritime flag, which you should have somewhere under your desks. There you go. Charlie, yours is R Romeo in the MCC colours there. And that means...
it looks like, I think it's a kind of nautical bumper sticker.
Yeah.
It's like, my other ship is a destroyer.
Oh, very good. It actually means you can feel your way past me. That's its meaning there, but I'm going to be pretty...
How do you do that? And that's not a proper nautical term.
No,
surely.
well, it's the way is off my ship. You may feel your way past me. And yours is a Z Zulu. It actually means I require a tug. So, come and see me in my cabin. I'll see what I can do.
No, I think I won't be needing that.
And yours, Rob, there? It's actually J Juliet, and it means I'm on fire.
How strangely
so you can come to my cabin as well. It has a second meaning, which is I'm leaking. So, Alan, yours is...
Coming up behind?
No, it's D Delta, and it actually means keep clear of me, I'm manoeuvring with difficulty. Well, mine is U, and it means uniform, it means you're running into danger. Yeah. That's a good one, isn't it?
We did News Quiz, the radio show, with a signer quite a few times, and it always interested me because you're mentioning topical characters, and it's amazing how quickly they come up with, like, Prince Charles is that.
Yes.
And we were doing material about Bill Clinton, and I waited to see what the signer would do, and he just did his zit.
Wonderful.
Brilliant.
In America, the American Sign Language is slightly different than R, is just to crook your finger like an R. And so Ronald Reagan was like that. 2 R's, Ronald Reagan.
That
very
makes
neat.
sense, because a lot of girls that I've been out with, my name is Rob, of course, they've made that sound.
I'm sure they have. I can't believe it. Now, can you guess what these flags mean and what the letters stand for?
A, B, C, D, E.
It's O, actually, and it means overboard.
Oh, right.
It's not just to generally express interest in something another ship has said. You know, they say something.
What? Also, if someone's fallen overboard, is there really time to put a flag up? And there's a bit of a lack of urgency. No, never mind.
The flag box.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I can never find the one I want. It's drowned by now. Overboard!
And the next one is... I think that's actually N, which means no.
So that after the one before is, oh, no.
Absolutely.
I've spilt something on these trousers. Oh, no.
We've got a third one.
That's a pyramid reflected in a lake.
Oh, no, it's a rather sweet one. It's F. actually, and it means I'm disabled. Communicate with me.
That's a rather patronising view of the disabled. That they have to have a flag to be communicated.
I was going to speak to him, but the little fella didn't have a flag, so I didn't.
They only wave the flag if they want you to talk to them. Yes.
Is there a flag we can use to say, does he take sugar?
Right. While we're all at sea, what's the difference between Flotsam and Jetsam?
One floats and one sinks.
No.
One is spelt with a J. That's it.
There are 4 kinds of wreckage.
Flotsam is something that's fallen off a ship because it's got wrecked or something, and Jetsam has actually been thrown off by someone.
Yes, correct. Jetsam has been jettisoned. Very good. Very good.
Did you really work that out?
Yeah.
Well, it's,
From
you know,
jeter, the
some
French
of
to throw.
some of us paid attention at school, Alan.
Got that one again. That seems to be the root of all my problems. Just wasn't
I
interested.
can also tell you that Lagan is what's on the bottom of the sea.
You're absolutely right. And there's only
You
one
said there's
more.
a 4th one.
There is a 4th one. Lagan is cargo that is lying at the bottom of the ocean, sometimes marked by a buoy, which can be reclaimed. But there's another one which lies at the bottom of the ocean, which no one has any hope of reclaiming.
Rocks.
That's derelict.
Derelict.
So they're the 4 classes of wreckage according to the 1995 Act, which covers these things. Now, from Flotsam to fan clubs. You'll remember that famous double act, Batman and Robin. What did the boy wonder use to sign his autograph?
Beside the seaside.
Well, that boy wonder
Yeah.
from the television series
Yes.
was played by Burt Ward,
Ward,
and
yes.
ironically, he was Bruce Wayne's young ward,
Ward,
Dick,
yes,
wasn't
yes,
he?
he
Dick
was.
Grayson.
Yep.
And he went on to a career in pornography. So I'm wondering, therefore, if this is a novelty question and if he signed it with his... He used to see a young lady and say,
He wrote-
quick, to the back pole.
He wrote an autobiography called something like A Life in Tights, and it was basically just
Very
sex.
good, Charlie
Sex on
Hickson.
every page.
He wrote an autobiography called Boy Wonder, My Life in Tights. And he revealed in that he did send autographs to thousands of women using what he called bat sperm to sign his name.
Was it actually bat sperm?
Which is another degree of awfulness, isn't it?
A fiendish plan. Hundreds of bats. Come on.
He called it the ultimate autograph, and apparently Batman watched. According to his book.
You watched which part of the proceeding? Didn't you? Can I watch? Bert? Sure, Adam.
How many times would you want to watch something like that, though? I mean, I can see a certain kind of morbid fascination.
And you?
Well, yeah. Well,
I'm just getting a message I rather misunderstood about Bert and his bat sperm. It turns out he didn't actually write his name in the sperm. It was his euphemism for shagging them. He gave them the ultimate autograph by shagging them. So I prefer the original explanation.
So imagine someone comes up to him in the street and says, could I have your autograph? And before you know it... Whoa, hang on!
Yes. Would you mind if Alan Davies watched? So that's what Adam West was watching.
He was watching them having sex.
Yeah.
That goes on a lot in show business. I think to the average man in the street, the idea of watching another person having sex is a bit odd. But I think within the world of show business, press and company excluded, you do hear stories of that sort of thing going on, don't you?
Do you?
Dad's Army were famous.
That's all. Stop it! Stop it! How dare you?
yeah.
Will do.
They don't like it up them.
Oh, dear me.
My sister told me what.
In 1968, they cancelled Batman, and he found it hard to get work again. Sadly, so his life.
I think how that should read is, and he then found work getting hard.
You're a very bad man.
I'd just like to say, I've got his autograph.
Hey! My word, you should be very, very proud. Anyway, it's according to his autobiography, that's what he did. Anyway, where would you find the world's biggest flasher?
Is it going to be about a lighthouse?
Well, oddly enough, one of the answers is about something that is called a lighthouse but isn't a lighthouse. The other one is the biggest flasher in nature.
Right. Is it the Statue of Liberty? Is that a lighthouse?
No.
It's not a light.
I think...
It's not a light at the top of the Statue.
Well, I think
of
like a
Liberty.
lot of tall structures, it
Yeah,
has to have a flashing light
Yeah.
on top for aircraft. Rather than... Don't look so contemptuous,
Yeah.
Rob.
Well, hang on, Big Ben, is that a lighthouse?
She's got a torch.
There's a light up there, yeah. But I mean, I've got a light on my top floor, but I don't have a lighthouse.
Is it Big Ben then?
You're leading the poor boy astray. No. Well, there's an organic one. There's an animal that is probably the...
Electric eel?
But you're in the right ballpark. Is it?
One of those fish like they have in Finding Nemo. They have well, it dangles a light in front of its mouth.
Well, it's certainly fish that uses what is known as...
The anglerfish.
Phosphorescence.
It's phosphorus. They call it bioluminescence, yes.
right.
Glowworms and fireflies,
Fireflies.
but under the water, 90% of marine creatures give off light.
Is it a squid?
It is a squid. It's a 7-foot squid. It's called the day nurse squid. It's an amazing creature. There it is.
The day nurse squid.
No, not day nurse. Dana octopus
Which
squid.
you can take in without being drowsy.
It's a non-drowsy formulation of the North Pacific Dana octopus squid. And it's really bright. It dazzles and disorients its prey with its light.
Does it need to do that if it's 7 foot long?
Yeah, well, it's just an added weapon in its arsenal. It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
It's in it. Where is it?
You're all to behave. Bios, meaning living, and lumen is Latin for light, of course, so it's bioluminescent. There are all kinds of jellyfish and things that wander around like, there you see, that give off light. Very beautiful. You're a diver, you've probably seen some.
At night,
Yeah.
all the ugly fish come out.
Of course.
It's really
They don't
interesting.
need to be pretty, Alan.
You go, that's right. And you go to the Red Sea, and in the day, the fish are beautiful, colourful fish, and then at night, they're all bug-eyed. They limp around, and most of them are
Strange
poisonous,
whiskers
and they've got
coming out.
spines on, and
Yeah.
you're not allowed to touch them. They'll come and look at you. Oh, night fish. And you shine a light, and they go, no! Don't look at me! Don't look at me!
Well, now, that's the answer to the greatest flasher amongst the animals, is that North Pacific Dana octopus fish. But in nature, also, it is an extraordinary effect that takes place in Venezuela. For 10 hours a night, up to 280 times an hour, for 180 days of the year. At the mouth of the Catatumba River in Venezuela. What's so extraordinary about this phenomenon is that it is the greatest source of ozone, we think, on Earth. It actually helps mend the ozone layer. It gives off enormous amount of ozone, all this electrical storm activity.
Is it a tourist attraction?
People do go to see it, yeah. It's
It's the
really...
kind of thing when you book for 2 weeks, there'll be nothing.
Oh, that would be difficult.
This
Yes.
should have been the last week.
Because-
Oof.
Because 180 days a year is almost exactly half of the year, isn't it? So the chances are good.
I think I might go there.
Yeah, it looks well worth it,
I'll
doesn't
report back.
Yeah.
I'll go now.
Let's press on now to feasts. How did the Borgia Pope Alexander VI celebrate the Feast of the Chestnuts? There is Alessandro Say.
He had someone stuffed with chestnuts.
Oh, that's horrible, isn't it? That's a punishment. No, he was pretty... This is a pope we're talking about. His Holiness the Pope. Actually, no, he had prostitutes, naked prostitutes. He would throw the chestnuts on the floor and they would grovel after them, picking them up with their teeth.
Of course, it's because he was a pope.
Because it's sort of... Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, he wouldn't stuff people with chestnuts. He was a pope.
I thought it was going to be something salacious. Why can't we have popes like that? We have these popes who go
They may
around.
be like that.
Yeah,
We just-
maybe they are. We don't know.
And there was one, Formosus, who made such an enemy of his successor that when his successor was Stephen VI as Pope, had him dug up and put on trial. His body was put on trial. And he spent most of the trial yelling at the corpse, and someone behind it had to move I'm not kidding.
What do you got to say to that?
Exactly.
As I thought, nothing.
And when they could get a word in, someone standing behind it would say, like a ventriloquist would say, that he denied the charges. Anyway, he was then condemned
To death.
And, his 3 fingers he used to do papal blessings with were cut off his skeleton.
Did the man behind go, ow!
And he was condemned to be reburied in a common grave. But then...
No, not a common grave.
Yes. But
I'm
then...
back in the box!
But then Stephen...
No, get me out of the book. Get back in the book.
But Stephen, who had done this to him, he was deposed, imprisoned, and then strangled. And then another pope called John IX, he brought Formosus back. His body had been rescued from the common grave. He was reburied as a pope again, so it was all well.
Was
the
he
end.
found innocent? Was he?
Yeah, he was
body?
found innocent, exactly.
That's a TV series, probably, isn't it? Pope trial.
It's a long-running West End
Bible.
show.
Even as I say that, there's a Channel 4 executive out there going,
yeah.
do you know what?
I could see Ray Winston as a corrupt pope, couldn't you?
brilliant.
Oi, you slag! Chestnuts on the floor! Forage!
Oh, shaming. Anyway, the Borgia Pope celebrated the Feast of the Chestnuts with an evening of prostitute racing in the Vatican. Now, lastly, once again, to F for forfeit. It's general ignorance, so fingers on those buzzers, if you please. Name the inventor of rugby football.
It was invented at rugby school when a boy picked the ball up and ran with it.
Yeah, except it wasn't, oddly enough. But I thought you might know his name. But
William Webb Ellis.
William... Oh, thank you.
That was like a Captain Oates job. I just
Thank you,
threw
indeed. You
myself.
sacrificed
Yeah.
yourself. You threw yourself on the grenade.
The Rugby World Cup?
The Webb Ellis Cup, yes. The odd thing is that they have this little memorial saying that with a fine disregard for the rules that the game has played, he first picked up the ball and ran, as if they'd all been playing football. But football wasn't codified till after they're claiming this rugby game happened. Rugby is an older game, and there were lots of ball handling games like that, so no one really believes it. The story was first told 3 years after Webb Ellis died.
And in the original Football Association rules, you were allowed to catch the ball, weren't you?
Yeah, I believe you were. It was...
Can we see the picture again that was up before it? The one of... you look at that and you think, my God, prison life gets easier as each day goes by.
I love those old Victorian teams.
I do, because
they're
the
lounging about, actually. Quite often they'll be sort of lying down. But when did those team photos start? When did people start? When was it something to do with the war? When they suddenly it's all in lines, rigid lines, hands on knee. But all the Victorian era ones are great. Just
They are. They're absolutely
casual.
lounging.
Sometimes they're just draped over one another.
Yeah, when did it change? Because you'd think, if anything, they'd be more rigid in that, they'd have been more likely to be nicely in rows and all together, and less so as the years have gone on.
If you absolutely had to, which one would you?
Oh, I'm not going to give that away. Oh.
Which one would you first?
Oh, just so
Your
bad.
stamina is...
Oh.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah. Yes, William Webb Ellis died unaware of his apocryphal role in sporting history, although the modern game certainly does have its roots in the 19th century public school system. From rugby to Eton, what was James Bond's job?
He was a secret agent.
Is that what you want? Yeah. No, in the British Secret Service, an agent is an informant to what Bond was, which was an intelligence officer.
You know how he got the job, Sean Connery? He went for the audition and then he walked away and the producers watched him out of the window.
And Fleming was present.
And Ian Fleming, I was about to say that, Ian Fleming was present. And he walked away and they said he walked like a panther.
Yep.
Which, when you think about it, would be on all fours.
Yeah.
And would make him look like a ruddy lunatic. Not the sort of man you want botching up the schedule on an expensive film. Oh, look at him, he's doing it again. Sean, please, get up.
Stop there. No chestnuts down there, Sean Bailey. But, no, he does have a fabulously lithe walk, didn't he?
What's the difference between your walk and your gait? Is it the same thing?
Not exactly, is it? The gait is the sort of picture, the angle, it's the signature of your walk. You can recognise someone by their gait.
Can your
From
gait be when
miles
you're
away.
stood
They can be
still?
still.
I recognise her by her gait.
Do you know who's got the funniest walk, I think? Always is Liam Gallagher.
Oh, yes.
He's got that walk that you do, when you're 17, you're out with your mates and you do that. down where you maybe don't, but I read it sort of slightly. But he still does it, and he's what, about 47 now, isn't he?
You know, well, Mick Jagger still does his
Struts. He's
whatever
got a
you want to call
cockerel
it.
strut.
I imagine that he grew up in a house with a very narrow doorway.
Well, it's not. Noel Gallagher's house was all French windows.
They had it all knocked through. But Mick had a lot of those funny little half-opening doors.
Excellent. There you are, that's it. You see, the security services.
Still enjoying it.
It's only
one
good.
more.
No, it's good. He is virtually arseless, isn't he, Mick Jagger? He has no bottom. It's really odd.
Apparently, someone else who's arseless is Ian McShane.
Is he arseless?
Told on quite good authority by a costume person. It came up in conversation. Someone was saying, "Oh, Deadwood's very good. Have you seen Deadwood?" And someone just went, "No bum."
Well, he must have. Mechanically, he must have something.
Folds
He's
himself.
got an anus. I'm sure he's got an anus.
They have
Oh,
to.
all right, yeah.
No buttocks. It's fascinating.
That's the point.
Flat.
Nightmare for a dresser because they keep falling. They have to staple his trousers.
There's just a little dress to go behind him in all the scenes, just holding them up.
You put a little pelmet across there and just hang them from then.
You could. Arse helmet. The security services actually call their staff officers, agents, or informants who are not members of staff. Now, here's an easy one for you. What's the maximum amount of times you can fold a piece of paper in half?
7.
7, no. Yep. And you had an answer too?
8.
Would there be a maximum?
Yes.
Yeah, have
absolutely.
you never tried it?
Yeah,
Try
Strangely not.
now.
Try. Here's some.
Oh, paper.
There, pass one along to the boy next to you. Come on. Start folding.
2.
Oh,
Is it a race? 3.
Hang on, I wasn't-
24.
5.
I'm struggling on 6, Steve.
Yeah, you would be.
They got some very exciting ideas for TV programmes. Paper folding live.
I can't do 7, I'm out at 6.
I'm 6.
Yeah, that's that particular piece of paper, the A4 size. But an extraordinary thing, an American schoolchild developed a formula for determining the folding of paper. And we have that formula for you. You can examine it. There it is. She was very impressive. Her name was Brittany Gallivan. And what it shows is, if you feed the various variables into it, W is width, T is thickness of paper, L is length of paper. That what you need is length and thickness in order to get the right number.
That's them. That's them.
The audience.
That's them.
Yeah. You're running into danger.
That's just going to be snipped out straight on YouTube. It'll be a ringtone, it'll be everything. What you need is length.
Are you
and thickness.
flirting with it?
Damn you all. You want
And that'll be for text messages.
you want T to be a low number. So thickness is, if I'd finished, thickness low, length long. Right? She demonstrated this by using a long sheet of lavatory paper, in fact, which was very thin, and she managed to fold it 12 times. And finally, what does it mean when the Union flag is flying over Buckingham Palace? Yes, young Andrew.
I'm going to regret this. It means the Queen's home. Come and have a cup of tea. That's what it means. The Queen's in.
No, it does not mean the Queen's
It means.
Yep.
It means the Queen is about to get home. Put the electric blanket on.
They fly the Royal Standard when the Queen.
When the Queen is home, they fly the Royal Standard. Since 1997, when the Queen is not home, they fly the Union flag.
Beside the seaside.
It was Princess Diana.
Princess Diana died. The Queen was in Balmoral, being played by Helen Mirren at the time, if you remember. And what happened was there was no flag to fly at half-mast. You couldn't fly the Royal Standard at half-mast because it was against all protocol. It was such a mess, the whole thing, that they then decided, all right, in future, just in case the sovereign is not at home, Instead of there being, as you say, a bare flagpole, we will have the Union flag, so that then when someone dies that the nation decides it's very fond of, they can go half-mast with that.
That was a great movie, but there's one moment in that I just did not believe at all, which was she was out in Sandringham, I think, or somewhere, or Balmoral, out on the moors, you know, with her Land Rover, and a stag.
That was a great scene, though.
Well, it was a great scene, but she says, "Oh, Shoo, or you beauty, or whatever." She's a member of the royal family. She'd have blown it to bits. They should have dubbed on Philip. Keep it there.
Talking to Betty. Come on.
He called her cabbage in the film, didn't he, rather oddly?
Because she smells like a cabbage.
He,
Imagine if you looked round and I just wasn't here then.
Lord.
When David Walliams met the Queen after swimming the Channel, and he took his mum with him, and the Queen came along, and then Prince Philip, and the Queen said, "Now you swam the Channel, didn't you?" He said, "Yes, Mum." And he goes, "But that's not all you do, is it?" And he said, "No, I'm in a comedy show." "Oh, very good." And then off she went. And then Prince Philip came, and he said to David's mum, "Are there any more nutters in your family?"
Anyway, the Queen's flag sergeant hoists the Union flag when the Queen is not in residence at Buckingham Palace. It's the royal standard that flies when the Queen is at home. And so we've circumnavigated the QI world and come all the way back to flags. But let's see who's been flying high with the wind in their sails and who's been flagging behind. Oh, my word, my goodnessy Wordington. Tonight, our Jolly Roger with 8 points is Charlie Higson. And, well, pretty ship-shape with -8, it's Rob Brydon. But sailing rather close to the wind with -15 points, Andy Hamilton. And finally, walking the plank with a report card that's all Fs, Alan with -19. For me is to thank Andy, Rob, Charlie and Alan. And as we lower the QI flag, we raise a glass to curiosity. For as Dorothy Parker once said, the cure for boredom is curiosity. There is no cure for curiosity. And as Steve Wright added, curiosity killed the cat, but for a while, I was a suspect. Good night. Good evening, and welcome to Games Night at QI. Let's meet the players and game for a laugh. It's Phil Jupiters. And at the top of his game, Sean Locke. A game girl, Lisa Turmack. And thinking about going on the game, Alan Davies. Okay. And tonight the bells are all well hung and fairly gamey. Phil goes...
Gladiators ready!
Sean goes... Lisa goes... Alan goes...
Good game, good game.
Oh, good game. Excellent. Well, let the games then begin. Picture this, Alan. It's a little complicated, but I think we'll get there. Phil and yourself
Right.
and Sean are in love,
Right.
and why shouldn't you be, with Lisa?
You've noticed?
Yes. Now, you're going to have a truel, which is a three-way duel.
Right.
Now, the problem is, Sean's a really good shot. He hits 90% of the time he hits the target.
It's amazing looking in my eyes.
Yeah. Phil hits the target 60% of the time. You, unfortunately, are not a very good shot, and you only 10% of the time. Okay?
Right.
You get first shot. Well, you only got one. You can shoot one of them. they will then each have a shot afterwards. The question is, what would your best strategy be?
Shoot myself. It's obvious. That's what to do. Shoot Lisa. There you go.
Something tells me all up there. I say there's something. Sean, can you look? There's something. Phil's got something on his back of his shirt, and then I shoot through Phil into Sean.
Yeah, like we're going to fall for that.
And like a bullet is going to make its way through my body. Anything other than a quarter of an hour. Sean will be the other side of me going, any minute now. I'll do it
the other way around.
Also, why I appear to have been eating cocoa out of the jar by just ramming my face in it. What's going on?
Yes, well, no expense has been spared, and you've had.
I have done 2 series of QI without the beard, and yet they still persist on the photo of me where I look like the fat Carlos the Jackal.
Surely my best option is to try and shoot the one who's a better shot than the other one.
You've got a 90% chance of not hitting them.
Yeah.
Even if you went for Sean, even if you actually did kill him,
Yeah.
then obviously Phil would then aim at you. So that's a bad option.
Yeah,
Even
right.
worse if you shoot Phil, because then you've got a 90% chance you hit him.
Yeah.
But supposing you just miss. You deliberately miss.
I want them to run away.
No. Stay where you are. What's in their interest?
Oh, yeah, shoot the one who's a better
If Phil shot you, you're no threat to him. He could shoot you, but then he would have no bullet, you'd have no bullet, and Sean would have a bullet.
That's brilliant. Get the guns out.
Yeah. There you go.
Hang on.
There you go. Pass it on.
Brilliant.
Another one. There you are. They
How
do.
do you load
You should
these?
say, leave it, it's not worth it.
There you are. Have you got yours? Oh no, she. Actually, you don't need one. Yeah.
Presumably, my gun going off early is one reason that Lisa's probably quite lucky I'm going to lose the duel.
What we're dealing with here, while you're refolding your ammunition, it's something called game theory. Does that ring a bell with you at all? Game theory?
we
Have you heard of
didn't do
game
that
theory?
one.
Game theory.
Yeah.
No.
It was invented by a couple of people, particularly von Neumann and Morgenstern in America, but most famously by a man called Nash. Does that mean anything to you? He won a Nobel Prize and then suffered terribly from the awful effects of being played by Russell Crowe in a film.
Gladiator.
Not Gladiator, no.
Oh, the mathematician,
Yes,
Beautiful Mind.
A Beautiful Mind, that's right. He won a Nobel Prize for his work on game theory, which was this kind of thinking which has been applied to economics, to business. For example, a very good example is advertising. Now, if you have 2 companies, if they both advertise, they're both spending an enormous amount of money and, as it were, cancelling each other out. If neither of them advertised, they'd keep the money and the market would remain the same. So what it resulted in is the bizarre situation that when they banned tobacco advertising, it was to the benefit of the tobacco firms, because they were suddenly saved money that they were sort of wasting anyway. Another example was an episode of Big Brother, do you remember? There were 2 finalists. They would get 50,000 was the prize money, right? They were going to be asked separately. If they both say they'll share it, then they'll share it. They'll get 25k each. If one of them says, I'll take the lot, right? And the other one says, I'll share it, the one who says, I'll take the lot, wins the lot. If they both say, I'll take the lot, neither of them gets anything. So what do? You're in separate rooms, and they say, make your decision now.
I came here with nothing, Stephen.
If you say, yeah, that's it.
I've had a lovely day. Everyone's been so nice.
But your best strategy, I mean, the point is to say, I'll share it.
Is it?
Yeah. And they both did say, I'll share it. And they both probably regret it. They both went, I should have said, I'll take the lot.
Yeah.
Because he said, I'll share it, so I should have done.
Or they should have probably studied at school.
Got
on with their lives.
The point is, in the truel, in the 3-way duel, Alan's best plan is deliberately to miss and hope that the 2 hotshots kill each other. It's an example of game theory in action. Now, which popular game traditionally ends with all the players being thrown into a lake of fiery sulphur?
Well, I hope it's show jumping. I hate show jumping. Oh, God. I'd have one of those after every jump.
Before and after.
Yeah.
It's not show jumping, though. It would certainly liven it up.
It sounds biblical.
I don't think it's the humans, though, is it? It's pieces. Wouldn't it be pieces?
Well, I'll tell you that it's a game that went dramatically out of fashion in 1972. Early 72, it was more popular than Monopoly. But by the end of 72, it had almost completely gone out of fashion because of a film.
Mousetrap. Mousetrap.
No, there is no film.
Because of a film. Is it Drafts? Remember that film? Drafts.
The film's
The truth about drafts.
No.
Drafts makes you go bored. Don't play drafts.
The film is not a game. There's a game in it. This game is played in it, and it's scary.
Oh, is it a séance?
Yeah, it is a séance using a Ouija board.
Okay.
Right.
And what film has there a Ouija board?
The
Exorcist is the right answer. One of the truly great films of the 20th century.
Is a Ouija board really a game? I don't remember ever seeing Ouija board scenes in a film and at the end going, right, who won? Not dead.
Well, the odd thing about Ouija, it was a board, it still belongs to Parker Brothers.
It's out.
Yeah, Ouija is a proprietary name, it's a trademark.
Is it Ya?
Interesting point. That is some people's theory of the name of it is, yes, two words for yes, we, the French, and ya, the German, but no one's quite sure about where the name came from, except that it's a game that was invented. The board was invented and it was sold and people played it. I mean, it's weird to say that, but they enjoyed the fact that it nearly always works in as much as, people spell out words and they don't quite know how they're doing it. It's clearly not dead people.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was not originally supposed to be dead people. It was supposed to be that you contacted yourselves, a part of yourselves that automatically wrote. It was not about seances.
Dead people just joined in.
Yeah.
This is good. This is the one for us.
Even when recently asked, only a third of the people who still use Ouija boards say they do it to contact dead people. And in the First World War, it was used to contact your troops abroad, supposedly.
So, hold on. Are some dead people trying to communicate with the living through Monopoly?
Yeah. There was a court case in the 90s, I'm sorry to say, in Britain, a murder case, quite an important one, and the jury had to be dismissed because in their hotel overnight they used a Ouija board to try and contact the murdered person. And apparently the murdered person said, the guy in the dock is guilty, convict him. And said, the judge heard about it and dismissed the jury, quite rightly, you may say. But the awful thing was, if they'd done it in the jury room, the judge couldn't have dismissed them. Because the judge has no right in law to know what goes on in a jury room. The deliberations must be private.
Unless he's dead.
Well, yeah, that's really complicated.
Was the guy guilty?
Unfortunately, he was retried and found guilty, which sort of is really irritating. So maybe the case to the murdered person did.
Where's the competitive element?
Suppose you just have a go.
Yeah.
Who are you trying to contact? Right, it's your turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you contact two dead people and then they box.
And then they tell you how it went.
Ghost boxing. Ghost boxing. On Sky Sports 2. Live ghost boxing from Auntie Vera's parlour.
See people in sheets.
Yeah. The headless man, he's already down.
It's just going like that. It's kind of punchy.
Do you know there's an Elvis?
Yeah. Here we go. Come on. Hit me. Hit me.
There's an Elvis seance website.
Of course there is. I bet there's more than one of those.
Where you contact Elvis.
Online?
But it cautions, if you wish to repeat this experiment, please be considerate. Many people may wish to contact Elvis, and we're sure he's quite busy. Please treat this information...
For eternity.
Yes, please treat this information the same as you would if he were alive and you had his email address, with respect. It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? A sort of posthumous Twitter and things like that. That would be hell, I have to say.
You just thought of that.
Yeah.
Urine it up to your neck.
Oh, God. Horrifying. But the reference in the Bible to the fiery lake or whatever is from Revelations, where it does say those who practice the magic arts will be cast into burning sulphur. So,
How about balloon animals?
the punishment for people who do balloon animals is not specified in Revelation.
Giraffe.
I think it's loneliness, the punishment for them.
Yeah.
Long nights, sitting alone.
So yeah, in my youth, games which conjured up the spirits of the dead were a popular gift for children. It's a weird thought. If they didn't like it, they could go to hell, essentially. So during the Second World War, who were the scallywags? Does that ring a bell? The scallywags? Not them, that's just a little suggestion. Rather
Lovable
sweet as it is.
urchin types.
I'm fairly sure it wasn't the SS.
Well, that's the odd thing.
It's the SS?
No.
You mean they were the scallywags?
What I'm saying
Cheekiest
is,
men in the war.
despite the cheeky name, we're talking about something really dark and violent. That's why I'm going.
Were they like special
Snipers.
assassins?
Well, no. What was the cutest, cuddliest, sweetest part of the British forces? Probably, if you think of
Virulin.
yes, or
Ensa.
Dad's Army, for example. The Home Guard,
okay.
right?
Right.
But there were plans afoot that if and probably when, right? That's a man dressed as a
Yeah.
woman doing a practice there. If and when the Germans invaded, there would be a guerrilla section of people who were not mainstream
I
military.
almost wish they had invaded.
Yeah.
That was that was
There were people in reserved occupations like
Heads up, pricks.
yeah.
Think about that picture. The baby's the best shot.
It's a truel. But clergymen and doctors were secretly trained, given money and supply dumps of ammunition and explosives and a gallon of rum in each one. And their job would be, when the Germans came, not only to shoot Germans, but there was a general view that Churchill would be killed or removed and someone like Lord Halifax would go in. And Michael Foote was one of these, scallywags as they were called. They were the secret auxiliary part of Dad's Army. And he and George Orwell and J.B. Priestley and others all were trained to assassinate anyone who collaborated with the Nazis. And there would be an underground resistance. And Michael Foote said, I would have killed Lord Halifax. I was quite prepared to, and I would have killed him. So they were pretty violent. It was not an easy, cosy thing. It's a good story,
It's a
isn't it?
terribly clever thing, though, isn't it? Because if somebody did come over and collaborate, anybody who might otherwise have caused trouble or ructions of a different kind would be automatically on the side of good.
Yes,
If you know what I mean.
That's the way. You're exactly right. It's that a group of radicals and left-wingers
Yeah.
had an uneasy alliance with the military, who
Absolutely.
trained them against the possibility of anybody who collaborated with Nazis.
That is a double-mind Jedi.
It is.
I think they're.
What I'm
commonly
interested in
known.
is how Michael Foote's changed his image over the years.
He has a little.
If
accent.
he'd worn that beautiful outfit on Armistice Day, there wouldn't have been all that fuss.
It's Spike Milligan.
Well, yeah. Also, they were trained on night duty and for stealth, but they only had 2 weeks' worth of rations and everything because essentially the belief was that they wouldn't survive any longer. That they were basically suicide squads. They were a terrorist suicide squad, as we'd now call them. Essentially, that's what they were trained in. It was a cellular structure like terrorists. They didn't know who the others were. They only knew their own band, and they were tasked to do
And do you
specific.
suspect that such an organisation exists today?
I wonder. I wouldn't.
Yes.
I'm not allowed to tell you.
Who have you been trained to kill?
The unofficial motto was terror by night. Even in the ordinary, if you can call it that, Home Guard, there were some pretty tough things being taught. Boy Scouts, aged 12 to 14, were giving demonstrations at Osterley Park, where the training camp was for the Home Guard. I've had to decapitate motorcyclists by stretching wire across the road. That's 12 to
That's
14
the kind of
years
scouting I wanted to do. Following twigs around Epping Forest.
And Harry Lee, who was the British roller skating champion, demonstrated how to use roller skates to knee someone in the groin.
You're going to slip over there. How are you going to get the other foot anchored?
Yeah, I think you may not have thought it through. You may be right. Anyway, there you are. During the Second World War, guerrilla fighters from Dad's Army were trained as underground scallywags. They must have been pretty tough customers, but who were the toughest of all vegetarians in history?
That's a sort of a bit of a, what's it called, an oxymoron, that, isn't it?
You'd think, what is it?
There are whole swathes of Asia where there are a lot of vegetarians.
There
I'm
are.
sure their armies would be quite fearsome.
Some sort of Shaolin monk, ninjas, kung fu. Are we Orient here? Are we Oriental?
Yeah, well, I mean, you may be right, but who are the toughest? Well, not the toughest.
Bulls.
Well, yes, well, of course, that's true. The strongest animals on Earth are
They're
all
tough as
vegetarians.
anything, and they're not
that's
carnivores.
True. But no, I'm thinking of in history.
Hitler, he was quite tough, I suppose.
Yes, but Hitler was not a vegetarian.
Wasn't he?
No, oddly enough. For some reason, people want to think of him as a vegetarian. I mean, it's certainly true that he didn't smoke or drink much. He occasionally had glasses of wine, but I'm not saying he was wonderful. But then, by saying he's vegetarian, I'm not saying he's ghastly either. Think of a film in the last 15 years.
Cowboys. No.
Cowboys. There was a very successful film. An Australian actor starred as
Gladiators.
Gladiators is the answer.
They're vegetarians, were they?
They were not. They were vegans, in fact, or vegans, however you like to say it. Relatively recent discoveries in Ephesus, where there's a mass grave of gladiators, showed that they gave all indications that they didn't eat meat. And in fact, they were known as barley men, hordearii, meaning eaters of barley. It was thought that they basically ate barley and beans and a bit of dry ash, which is supposed to be good for the muscles. But it was important they were quite fat. And they're always shown as stocky in art.
Right.
How can they find out that they're vegetarian from an archaeological dig?
Well, another thing is teeth.
Shopping list.
Oh, okay.
Teeth.
You got it all there, Waitrose.
Carved with flint on slate. Beans.
No, just loads of toilet paper.
Well, do you know what? I thought beyond teeth, how would they know?
Well,
They
actually,
found
chemicals in the bone and
Okay.
so on, and levels of zinc and things like that indicate very strongly. If it's low levels of zinc, it indicates they didn't eat meat.
See, I have a problem with all this sort of prehistoric science. Is the fact that they get the bones and they go. Bzz, bzz, I'm assuming that's something like that.
Yeah.
And they've got to find something, haven't they? They go, oh well, these chemicals suggest they only eat vegetables. They can't go. Hasn't been of any use to us whatsoever.
Well,
I just wasted the last 3 bloody years of my life.
that is so precisely what scientists do. Yes, they say constantly, all the time, this is not indicative of anything. We don't know. We don't know. If there's any group of people who says we don't know a lot, it's scientists, unlike religionists. And isn't it weird that scientists are the ones always accused of being arrogant? It's so ridiculous. But that we don't know is the default position on science until you absolutely know
It's
something.
actually, we just don't
We
know.
just don't know. We just don't know.
Where's the readers?
Don't
We
get me
don't
started.
know.
Yeah. Anyway, the fact is, it seems at the moment that Roman gladiators were strict vegans. Now, where might you see a boat like this here?
Las Vegas.
Oh,
Las
she's
Vegas.
good. She
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
stopped you from saying.
That was really
Water
mean
is
of
too
me.
clean.
Yeah.
Much
and
too clean for the place that we've
that whole
set the bells
wall
off.
isn't rotten and
Yeah,
sinking.
but there's another reason why that could not possibly be Venice. That's the gondola itself. What's wrong with it?
Just too bling.
Well, it is too bling, actually.
Yeah.
But that's because. Have you been to Venice? Have you noticed
Yeah.
gondolas?
Yes.
Yeah, really expensive.
They're very expensive, yes.
They're black.
They're all black. It's an ordinance from 1633 onwards. They have to be black, a sumptuary law that says they will be black. They're allowed little bits of ornament and bling, as you can see, and they're allowed a little curly prow and a few other such things, but they must be black. And since we're in Las Vegas, let's go to the casino. We've talked about them a bit, but how can you win money from a casino?
Magnets.
Counting cards.
Prostitution.
Card counting, that's right.
And they can spot that you're doing it. They have people that watch and know that you're doing it.
do know.
And it was a chap who wrote a book, Ben something, no.
Nevis.
Awfully good.
No, I interviewed
High as
the
a
dude.
kite.
And-
You
and-
interviewed
and he's a maths teacher at a college and he gets some students.
Was it MIT students, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. And they went as an experiment, kind
Yeah.
of. And he's been banned from
Yeah,
casinos.
it's not against the law, and you're not cheating. Actually, all you're doing is playing the game extremely well. Now what happens is that they have this amazing face recognition technology that all the casinos in the world buy into. If you went into a casino in Phoenix, say, and did some card counting, and they said, excuse me, sir, can you leave? They can't really take your winnings away from you. They just make you leave, unless they're criminals. They try and beat you up if they really dislike you. And you were to go into one in Macau, flew over the next day, they'd spot you as you came in. Their computers would pick you up. The face recognition say he's a card counter because they
As
would
if
have
they
been.
haven't got enough advantages.
I know, but that's the thing. They're just there to make money.
And how do they spot that you're card counting unless you sit there and go,
A 7! 5! Attack! Bust!
and if you did do that, I want you to go, excuse me, sir, could you?
I got a picture one! I got a picture one! That's maybe the way you disguise it.
Well, of course, what they do is they do it in teams, and they have very clever ways.
You're doing that. The guy at the other end's counting the cards. The perfect.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. That was the system that Ben Campbell, the guy you interviewed. Ben Campbell, remember him?
Yes.
Yes, that's it. That was his system. But oddly enough, they've tried to do it with roulette. How would you do it with roulette?
Count the spins.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Count the ball.
Stop it. Stop time.
Ah,
And then you only can move. Everyone else is frozen in time.
yeah.
And then you get the ball and put it exactly where you want.
Yeah.
And then go everyone back in the room. You won.
Why not just to help yourself to all the money in the place while you've stopped on?
Because when you eventually you'd have to stop time and bring them back in, and they'd know. They go, something's missing. If you won, they'd go, wow, you've done it again.
I know how you win.
And I'll feel my pants are on for exchange.
I know how you win.
Well, you would, wouldn't you? You'd take all the money and you'd fiddle with people.
So not!
You would!
What you've got to watch out for is you just got to watch. You don't play one of the tables where the croupier, once he spins it, goes like this with his hand.
Yes, that's it.
They just go, place your bets, and then he goes.
It seems that the only honest way to win money from a casino is by playing blackjack extremely well and counting. But if you do that, they'll probably kick you out. Now, I tell you all this, but maybe I'm bluffing. And how would you know if I was bluffing while we're still with gambling games? How do you know when
Because we know your tell.
Ah, that's the word, isn't it? A tell is what they're called. What
Yes,
are
this.
tells?
When you get the cards, you go, come on!
All that, or just blinking a lot.
Blinking a lot is,
Yeah.
it's said to be one.
Speedboats, fast cars, it's all going to be mine!
Yes. Now, if you were quite good at poker, you might then reverse that, mightn't you? And if you've got a really bad hand, do that.
Yeah.
What's
So
the
that's
point?
the
Well,
problem.
I'll go in anyway, but what's the point?
Yeah. Oh, come on! Gamblers tell you that weak is strong and strong is weak. They basically try and bluff the other thing, as it were. They double bluff. They may be triple bluffing. Who knows? But now we enter the end game, gentlemen, lady, with your chance to take a wild gamble on a few hands of general ignorance. So fingers on buzzers. What colour is this hound?
Blue.
Oh, you're good. How did you know that?
I'm mad for dogs.
Oh, you like dogs,
I'm
don't you?
absolutely mad for dogs.
What's the name of the breed?
It is a miniature.
It's a greyhound.
Is it really
It's a
just
greyhound, yeah. But the greyhounds are not grey. The word grey is actually from Grieg. It was a Grieg hunt. And Grieg means
the
bitch.
English, yeah.
Yeah, Early English means bitch. So it's a bitch hound, basically. And as you say, they're called blue. That colour is called blue. There you are.
Yeah.
What do we know about greyhound racing? Is it flourishing at the moment, or is it down in the doldrums?
I know.
Greyhound Racing UK tell us it's the second most popular spectator sport in the country after football. 2.5 billion wagered every year.
I think a lot of the greyhounds, though, they've gone off it. They're more interested in football.
And how fast does the hare go round the little...
40 miles an hour.
Up to 100.
Really?
Yeah, how about that?
Max speed 70, actually, with greyhounds, isn't it? Between 40 and 70 miles per hour.
The dogs themselves?
Yeah.
Who would win out of a race between a cheetah and a greyhound?
I would.
Who would win?
Cheetah.
Cheetah.
Well, the cheetah would just have lunch. You wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, brilliant.
Well, someone did try, actually. A man called Kenneth Gander Dower. And the trouble is that the cheetah just wasn't interested. It would just sit down. It wouldn't race.
Especially with this little monkey jockey.
Anyway, greyhounds are not grey, and even the ones that are in fact blue. Now, what should you do with mussels that don't open when you cook them?
Ooh, leave them well alone, really.
Yeah.
What should you do with them?
Don't eat them.
Well,
Yeah, that's good advice.
no, it isn't.
No, it's terrible advice.
Clearly, it's bad.
Thank goodness you didn't say throw them away, though. Then you would have been a forfeit. No, it's odd. This is a woman called Jane Grigson. And she wrote a very fine book on seafood, in which she said if they don't open, then they're bad, throw them away. And this was in the early 70s. And by the 90s, 90% of all books said it. In fact, the Australian Seafood Commission say, if anything, it's the reverse is true. That actually one that doesn't open it may be better for you. And certainly one that's open before you start cooking, you should throw away.
Yeah.
Because that'll be dead.
Yeah.
So it's fine to eat closed mussels. In fact, they're probably fresher than the open ones. What did gladiators say, incidentally, at the beginning of a tournament?
We who are about to die salute you.
Oh, dear.
Come on, that's what it's there for.
Yeah, you're right. No, it's...
Not the face.
I'm sorry. It's very good. No, they didn't say that.
I'd like a bean salad.
I want a steak.
There was a thought that it was morituri te salutamus or whatever, which would be in the Latin, and they said it to the Emperor Claudius. But they weren't actually gladiators, they were just prisoners who were going to be killed. No gladiator was ever recorded as saying it. That's the point. So there's no reason to believe it was ever said by a gladiator.
What did they say? I bet they say something like, come on, let's just all try and have a laugh.
Yeah, absolutely. And so once again, we find ourselves at the end of the game. And it's fascinating, actually. Our winner, our clear winner, with 5 points, is Lisa Tarbuck! In second place with 2 points, Phil Jupiters. In third place, Sean with -7. But yes, -17, Alan Davies. That's it. Thanks to Phil, Sean, Lisa, Alan and me. And we'll leave you with this self-evident truth from James Hetfield, off of Metallica, who said, it's all fun and games until someone loses an eye. Then it's fun and games that you can't see anymore. Thank you, good night. Welcome to QI, where tonight we'll be looking at all manner of hoaxes, hokum, hucksters and hogwash. And to help, or more likely hinder us, a veritable horde of hornswogglers with 10 top tips to increase your manhood. It's Sean Locke! And joining him, the esteemed president of the Bank of Nigeria, Danny Baker! By his side, Professor of Hoaxology at the University of the Internet, David Mitchell. And believe it or not, Alan Davies. Now, in keeping with our theme tonight, one of our buzzers is a hoax. So see if you can tell me which one of these buzzing calls is not the mating call of a deer. Sean goes. Danny goes. David goes. And Alan goes.
Hello, dear.
Now, starting as we mean to go on, we've actually hidden.
Is it Alan's?
Yes.
It was Danny's. I was going to say Danny's right up to the...
Right at that last moment. Now listen, you've got hoax cards here, little jokers to play, because in keeping with the theme, there will be one question which is a hoax.
Thank you.
And you play your hoax card and you get extra points. If you play it and it isn't a hoax, you lose points, but don't have your hoax cards unspent at the end of the game.
What happens?
Well, I'm not going to tell you. But it may be...
Not on them once.
You could possibly know.
I don't think this format point's been worked out in enough detail.
No.
You should have decided whether you can play them more
No, you
than once.
can't. No, you
That's
can't.
gonna
I
be
was just
crucial.
thinking of being generous,
Just
and then I
like-
realised it was foolish.
For the pilot of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, did somebody go, and if we get one wrong, that's okay? Yeah, that's okay, yeah. Oh, hang on.
How many lives do we get? What about you? I'm going to just do it on the first question, then none of us can lose out. If we all do it on the first question...
We all do it on that.
We all lose points, and then it's just done.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Good
can see
looking
I've
lass.
made a terrible rod for my own back here. Well, anyway, let's see what happens. There's some characters behind me, shifty-looking characters. What were they up to last night?
They were up all night making a picnic table.
Before you get too insulting, they're in the studio tonight. I just thought...
They were winning the Mr. Handsome contest.
That's more like it.
Were they harming horses? You know, when they can harm horses, like slash horses?
No.
Were they
But it was a nighttime covert activity like
Right,
slashing
goats,
horses.
they were slashing goats.
No, let's assume we wouldn't invite into the studio.
Were they?
people
Yes,
who
I
made
suppose so,
animals.
yeah.
Were they pretending to be gas men and
Robbing old
thereby
ladies.
stealing the property of aged people?
No. If I told you that this was in Wiltshire, would that help?
Cathedral stealing.
Grave robbing. Grave robbing's always at...
Or they drew something rude.
In the summer.
On Stonehenge. They drew something rude on Stonehenge.
Crop circle.
Oh, Alan, well done. Crop circles. Absolutely right. There they are. The equipment needed for crop circling, a plank with rope. But what was the crop circle? We commissioned them.
A
to
QI
do
symbol.
A QI crop circle, and they did it for us. And it's rather impressive.
Because
We're rather
QI is
pleased
run
with
by
it.
aliens.
Would you like to see it? Would you like to see it?
I certainly would.
Well, let's have it. We actually went to the expense of having a travelling aerial shot.
Ah.
What do you think of that? We did.
That's real. That's like the Led Zeppelin cover.
Oh, you fail. I'm afraid it was. The extraordinary thing is, almost within half an hour of it being completed and the dawn rising, we were contacted by people. Someone wanted to know. They said, "Is it real or is it man-made?" Which the answer is.
I asked that about sandwiches all the time.
But it's a rather marvellous example of a breed of phenomenon that has that's been going since when?
Is the farmer...
Since
is the
the
farmer
80s.
here tonight?
We have recompensed the farmer. It doesn't actually do much
But how
damage.
many mice were frightened in the making of that?
We can't tell how many mice were
I'll bet
frightened.
this is older than we suspect.
It's actually very recent.
Is it?
It is really, yeah.
80s?
Well, 70s it began, and it got more and more refined. There was a man
Like
called...
Pizza Express.
There were a couple called... Yeah. There's a fellow called Doug Power and Dave Chorley, and they admitted that they'd been responsible for almost all the crop circles. They used to be on the news every summer. There'd be aerial shots, and there were people who called themselves seriologists who genuinely believed that these were the work of people from outer space or from magnetic forces from ley lines or all kinds of
They'd
nonsense.
do things like they'd do a crop circle and then they'd leave a couple of scorch marks or something.
Yes.
The engine had blasted off back into the
We've got... Where are our three here? Put your hand there. Look, is that John Lundberg?
Yeah.
There you are. There's John. Can you tell me how you did yours without giving away too many trade secrets? What's the most technological item you need?
We need something called a stalk stomper, which is a plank of wood and a loop of rope that you put under your foot to flatten the crop. And to actually mark out the design, you use a surveyor's tape. So it's very, very kind of simple techniques and very simple tools.
What about your spaceship? What spaceship?
I'm saving up for one, but the fee I got for this, it's going to take a while.
So, how many do you do a year in the season?
We don't say how many we make, but we've made hundreds over the years that we've been doing it.
And do people... are there still those who believe, or who refuse to believe that it's all hoaxers like you?
Absolutely. Well, they've been ringing your production office, haven't they?
Yeah, that's right. John Lundberg, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. There you are. Anyway, yes, far from being proof of a more intelligent life form, crop circles can be made using a plank of wood, some rope, a hat sometimes, a couple of coat hangers, that kind of thing. But conversely, would you believe that they put a man on the moon?
Who? These guys?
NASA.
Oh, NASA. Yes, yeah, I think
course.
You believe that?
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yes, you believe it. Good, that's all. That's sort of all at the end of the question, really. But you probably know that quite a lot of people don't believe it.
No.
Yeah, but well, I sort of believe one thing,
Yeah.
which is I kind of believe that they might have done some mocked-up fake photographs.
Really, why?
Because I was showing... Someone convinced me of it.
Yeah.
But I was talking about the angle of light and the shadows on the moon and all that. But then I did an advert with Patrick Moore, and I said, "So, Patrick, did they land on the moon?" And he looked so annoyed with me.
Yeah.
Actually, he explained to me how he had helped map the moon for NASA, and he'd spent years on the project, and the landing site was partly his idea. And if I ever spoke to him again, he was going to be sick in my eyes.
They are rather tight. If you'd spoken to Buzz Aldrin, he might have punched you.
I was going to say...
Buzz Aldrin punched someone because he just got so tired of these conspiracy arses.
I think it was a television documentary about...
Well, there have been several, of course.
You know, look at this photo. This couldn't possibly have been taken on the moon. This is obviously taken in a studio.
You're getting me started now because one gets very sort of strange about this. But there are a lot of conspiracies. 6% of Americans believe that man didn't land on the moon, but 25% of Britons believe that they didn't. So that's a quarter of our nation are not convinced, apparently.
That's so depressing.
Isn't
It
it?
is.
The flag. It's one of its One other thing I read...
The flag is another thing,
the
yes.
flag, and you
Yeah,
think,
but there it is.
Well, obviously they've starched the flag because they wanted to get a good photograph of it. They've stiffened the flag.
No, they haven't stiffened it. That's the point. The fact it's rumpled. There's no breath of wind out there, obviously, because you're in space, which is, as it were, a vacuum. But what there is movement. If you impart movement to something, it doesn't stop moving for a long time because there's there's no resistance against it. So they unpacked it, unfurled it, put it down, and it moved back and forth. People said, breeze. Ha ha. As if, A, they would be stupid enough to fake it and allow the tape that had the breeze in it to go out.
But also, if you went to the moon, the least you'd expect is a flag moved a bit strangely. I mean, you expect it to meet the soup dragon. You think, OK, he's up there. The flag moves a bit strangely. I can go with that.
Yeah. Why isn't one of them holding up a camera? Because you can see him reflected, the one taking the picture's reflected in the visor of the one, and he's not holding up a camera like that, you see. But that's because they didn't, in the visors, put a camera up in front of their visor. They were mounted.
You couldn't really actually imagine them getting a camera out, click,
like that.
winding it on.
I'd like to go to the moon.
You would like?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to do that.
Yeah. I mean, two of the other things, just in case people are saying, but you haven't mentioned the clincher. One was the idea that below the lunar module that landed, there was no crater or sense of disturbed dust. The fact is, the engine's cut off and it hovered down and it very, very quickly landed. And unlike in science fiction films, it doesn't send out spears of flame as it descends. That just didn't happen. So
because it was designed by, human brains and geniuses, and not a lot of people sitting tapping away at the internet who've got to go up to work in the morning.
Yeah,
Who do you trust here?
We are in trouble as a species if people refuse to believe in things that they couldn't actually do themselves.
So true. And the other one was the footprints. They said, look, there's too much moisture because look how clear they are. Only a sort of caked mud could do that, but actually you could do that with flour. The fact is, it's just very fine ground, and there's, of course, it's a vacuum again. It coheres. And the other thing with the mirrors that Apollo 12 astronauts put on the moon, which are now used for bouncing lasers off, for detecting, for example, how far the moon is getting away from us. And you can make incredibly accurate measurements because of mirrors on the surface of the moon. And perhaps to me the clinching one is that America's enemy at the time in the space race was the Soviet Union. And not once did they make a suggestion that they thought America hadn't done it. They never said, no, we know this was hoax.
Yeah.
The fact is, for every ill-conceived argument that the moon landings were a hoax, there's a perfectly logical explanation to put our minds at rest. Now, for something a little closer to home, how would you make your house the most famous house in Britain?
Oh, that's easy.
Yep.
You murder lots and lots of people, dismember them, and bury them in the garden.
You marry the Queen. You marry the Queen.
Yes.
And you say, you're not living there in those... No, love, you're not living in those palaces anymore.
You're living in 3 Ironside Crescent, Carlisle.
Yes.
Yeah. Those would work. Yep, those would work.
Some sort of spectacular suicide? I suppose, actually, the murdering people would work better, which I think is sad.
But this is a bet.
Balloons? Is it like in the film Up? You just tie loads of balloons and your house goes...
Oh, that would be sweet. That would. This was a bet that took place in 1810 between Samuel Beazley and Theodore Hook. That Hook couldn't make any house he chose the most famous residence in London in 1 week. He had a week in which to do it, but in fact he prepared over the week, but it all happened in one day. Yeah?
He started ordering goods, all kinds of different goods from all kinds
4,000 different tradesmen and services in all the commercial directories all over London. He started ordering chimney sweeps. So first thing in the morning there were 12 chimney sweeps, all arriving like that, and then more and more and more and more and more arrived. I mean, it became absolutely gigantic. 12 coal carts, there were cake makers, doctors, apothecaries, surgeons, lawyers, priests for dead bodies, undergraduates, hat makers, haberdashers, bootmakers, fishmongers, butchers' boys. A dozen pianos arrived. And before long, the governor of the Bank of England had turned up to see what the fuss was about. It was in Berners Street, just north of Oxford Street. And there it is.
That sign doesn't fit that bit of wall.
It doesn't really. And yet, I suppose if they put it the way it would, you'd have to read it in portrait rather than
needed to go back to the drawing board with that one.
I think you're right.
Got it all wrong.
Or just chill out about the whole thing.
Fold a bit round, mate.
Yeah, that would be nice. Is it a bit like, so the equivalent is like going on the internet and ordering the lot?
Yes, exactly.
I love everything.
Exactly, basically. And the poor woman whose name was Mrs. Tottenham was just besieged. I mean, it wasn't his house.
He didn't live there.
No, he chose it. No, he just chose this house. That was the point of the bet. I can make that house, 54 Berners Street, the most famous house in London. Theodore Hook betted a man called Beazley that he could make 54 Berners Street the most famous house in London. What conclusion did the great biologist Stephen Jay Gould draw from a lifetime study of fish?
Oh.
Yeah.
They haven't got any legs.
Is that his lifetime study?
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't his lifetime study of a fish.
Yeah. After a while, they smell.
He's a bit thick, and he just stared at me, and they haven't got any legs.
Starfish don't have brains. It's the kind of Louis Walsh of the aquatic world. They really don't have brains, a starfish.
And they're not really fish, aren't they, starfish, to be honest?
Well, the word fish is in there, which kind of qualifies them, I think.
Well, is a starfish a fish? Is a jellyfish a fish?
Well, yeah,
cuttlefish a fish?
Yes,
but
the starfish.
A crayfish is a lobster.
There's a division, isn't there, in the world, whether it should be down to sort of experts in biology, whether things are fish, or whether it should be down to menus.
Yes.
I think, for example, a crayfish comes under fish in a menu.
He looks like he's reading the sell-by date on that.
He does. Stephen Jay Gould was very great. He's dead now. He's very great. He won a Nobel Prize. He was a paleontologist and an extraordinary biologist. And he came to a conclusion which is...
They can feel no love.
No, that there is no such thing as a fish. Fish has no biological meaning. There is just...
Well, that's so I'm absolutely right. Go with menus.
On a menu it does. In a menu, a fish is not the same as shellfish or seafood, is it?
It often comes in the same bit and separate from pudding.
Things that live in the sea.
Pudding are different.
Yeah. How can something not be something? Something can't be not something, can it? But if you've created a something, then something has to be that something, otherwise you haven't created a something. So it has to be a fish if there is the idea of a fish in the first place.
I swear there's a philosophy somewhere.
Slow down, Plato.
There's some sort of ontological argument going there, and of course to us that we use the word fish. But biologically speaking, a salmon is more related to, say, a camel than it is to a hagfish. Like, there are lots of things that fly, like a bumblebee flies, a vulture flies, and there are flying lizards. They're not all birds.
No.
But we call things that swim in the sea fish, and actually, biologically, evolutionarily, they have absolutely nothing to do with each other at all. So, after a lifetime study of fish, biologist Stephen Jay Gould concluded that there's no such thing as a fish. What did Nostradamus get right?
The hat. You got the hat right. The hat looks good. Big mistake. The green coat with the brown hat. It's crazy. The hat looks cool.
Who is he?
You've not heard of Nostradamus?
I've heard of him, but I've just heard of him. I've no idea where he lived.
His name was Michel de Nostradame. He lived from 1503 to 1566. He was a Provençal apothecary. And he did many things, but including writing these hundreds of quatrains, these four-line verses.
Were these deliberately obtuse? So like David,
Yes.
I'm aware of it, the headlines on it, but why were they so obscure?
Well, he was a mystic, and I suppose who knows, he got drugged up and he just wrote down a four-line verse of
chemist,
whatever he
wasn't he?
saw.
He was a chemist.
Well, he was an apothecary, a chemist, exactly.
So he could have had access to all kinds of crazy hooch.
Exactly.
So he published a book of essentially gibberish.
Yes. And a lot of idiots.
Because even the people now who sort of said, oh, that predicts the Hitler or that predicts 9/11, even people would think, well, actually, if you bought that in 1530, that's not good value for money because all the things it's predicting won't happen for ages. And so what it is then is nonsense. But in fact, it's only ever any use to predict something just after the thing's happened.
Yes, because then people go, wow, yeah. But one thing he did do that is genuine, and this was the question, is he did a fantastic recipe for cherry jam. Because he read other books, and one of the books he read about was about jams. And his cherry jam recipe, we are assured today, is still as good as it ever was.
Really?
So that is a thing Nostradamus did that is provably, demonstrably, and repeatably true. He also made aphrodisiac jams made of sparrows' brains and all that sort of thing. But generally speaking, his cherry jam is something he got right. Anyway, yes, when Nostradamus wasn't predicting stuff, he was very busy compiling a rather excellent collection of jam recipes. Who's the most famous person to have been beaten at chess by a machine? What? Hello?
What
Do you
now?
think that's a massive hoax?
Yeah, hoax.
Oh, you're wrong. It is entirely true. No. Oh well. Anyway,
Anyway,
thought,
it was
he's
too
right.
late. The question had finished.
No, you
Too
stopped
late.
me. No. So, who is the most famous person who's been beaten by a machine at chess? You get double points if you can mention
Me.
the name of the machine.
Me.
Are you the most famous person?
Yeah, I got beaten by a Hoover.
Is that right?
Yes.
And
Someone just
nobody
left
more-
it on and it moved the pieces around and it still beat me. That's how bad I am at chess.
It's the key thing is the question is not most famous chess grandmaster. It is, so it could be Marilyn Monroe. It could,
He's not a famous chess player then.
No. That's very well worked out. I mean, there is
The Queen
Gary
is-
Kasparov, the
Yes,
great
he lost to the
grandmaster.
ice-
Deep Blue.
Deep Blue.
Yeah, but that wasn't.
the Queen is the most famous person in the world, probably. Did she lose to a
someone,
ZX80?
this was someone who was more famous than the Queen in his day and was bigger than a Queen, as it were. Had a bit higher rank than Queen.
Jesus.
No. Jesus isn't really a rank.
I would say Jesus.
It's a rank.
I am Jesus.
rank you.
It's more famous than the Queen, though.
Yes, that's
Jesus.
I
You
think
can't handle the truth.
Jesus Plays Chess sounds like an indie band already. It will be, and it will be.
Yeah.
Napoleon.
Napoleon is the right answer. Do you know what the machine might have been? It was a famous machine in its day.
Would it be some sort of kind of clever wind-up automaton?
It was an automaton, and it was unbelievably clever. It was called the Mechanical Turk, and the Turk itself was made of machinery. And you would open the doors rather like a magician showing a trick to show that it was empty. Though in fact there would be a man inside who was a chess master. He would manipulate the machinery such as to make the Turk actually pick up and move the pieces. So it was a genuinely astonishing piece of machinery that unfortunately burned in a fire in 1854. But Napoleon, who rather fancied himself at chess, and of course being emperor, I dare say nobody ever rather dared beat him, so he was extremely annoyed to be beaten in 19 moves by this machine.
Right.
So, yeah. And many others were beaten. You might like to know Benjamin Franklin, who was in Paris at the time as ambassador to the newly formed United States. Yeah, he lost as
What was
well.
the deal with it? They were unaware that there was a grandmaster inside.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They generally thought it was a machine. Charles Babbage also played it, and he was beaten by it, and he's the father of computing to many people that invented the difference engine. This kind of
Maybe if he'd
calculating
known
machine.
there was a man inside, he would never have invented the difference engine.
Exactly. But it was the sensation of the age. It was a really remarkable thing. The Mechanical Turk, a manned automaton that beat Napoleon at chess, amongst other people. But enough hoaxes. It's time for some real general ignorance. So, fingers on buzzers, if you please. How can you tell if someone is lying?
Hello, dear. They get sweaty palms, the pulse starts racing, they get heartbeat goes faster, the sphincter, if you clench up your sphincter...
Let's just suppose that you haven't got a finger on their sphincter and that you aren't holding their hand. Yeah.
What they've said turns out not to be true.
Yeah. Yay!
Hello, dear. They work for the state.
Oh, is there a bitterness behind that?
No, it's just an observation.
Is it something physical?
It is, but
Is it-
tactile.
Is
To
it the
point
thing?
you can't touch them.
And I fear klaxons. But is it something about whether when they're just about to think about it, they look up left instead of up right, or up right instead of up left, or something like something to do with their eyes?
Yes! You were right to fear klaxons.
Yeah.
Is it? I think I know what
Embrace
it
the klaxon.
is. It's just
I'm
before they
trying to.
deliver the crucial detail, they go, yeah, well, it's about... Ooh... About 10, I reckon. I mean...
Sean, you are more right than David by a long way. The point is, it's very hard to see if someone's lying. There's nothing in the body language, nothing in the face, nothing in the eyes, nothing in the nose touches, all those things that people think are to do with it. It's all to do with what they're saying and how they're speaking. It appears to be.
Is this why it's easier? They say it's easier to tell if someone's lying on the phone than if it's face to face.
Exactly so. They tested over 20,000 subjects, showing them videos of people telling the truth and lying. They found that the people perform no better than chance. Not only that, so-called experts, polygraph operators, police investigators, judges and psychiatrists, returned the same result. But if you do it just on sound alone, people are much more accurate, about 73% accuracy at listening to lies. So the thing to do is shut your eyes.
Is that man going to shoot him?
Yeah, it's a very early polygraph. It does look rather bizarre, doesn't it?
Right.
I guess it's a
Name,
murder
John.
suspect.
Wrong.
Presumably that means it's easier to dupe the deaf than the blind. which isn't what you'd think.
No, it isn't. No, it's true. Having said all that I've said, Dr. Ekman, who's a leading researcher who claims that 50 out of 20,000 people do have a natural ability to detect lies by actually looking at expressions, and these are very, very few people. He named them the truth wizards, and they're apparently able to read micro-expressions that last milliseconds in ways that others aren't. So, there you are. The truth is most people can't tell if you're lying, but they'll have a better chance if they focus on your speech rather than your body language. What's the one thing you know for sure about oranges?
They're orange.
They're orange. Oh! That was the problem. When you do red ones, and most of them aren't orange, in fact. I know supermarkets tend to use an lethal gas to degreen, as they call it, to take the chlorophyll out, because we shoppers prefer to see an orange skin. In the southeast, in warm countries, oranges are actually green. And they can see how green they are. And do you know where the word comes from? What the original word was? It's naranja.
Naranja.
Which is
Spanish for orange.
Spanish for orange.
And the original naranja is Sanskrit. And what happened is it does, as words do, it loses the N. So you get an orange, an orange, and we think, oh, that's an orange, must be an orange. But in fact, it was an orange.
An orange.
It was originally, like a nada was
Zoom
a
was an
a
orange.
French
snake.
say orange, don't they? It should be called a nan-orange.
Just an orange would do. An orange.
An orange.
An
orange juice.
An orange juice, yeah. That would do it.
Yeah.
Well done.
So, is it apple? Should be called a napple?
No, it doesn't work with apples. It works with something. An apron, for example.
A nimper?
It was an apron. No, that's silly. But it works with a nada. A nada has now become an adder, but it was originally a nadra.
Nada, right.
Nadra. And an eek name, your eek name, a nickname became a nickname, but it was originally an eek name. Yeah.
What's an eek? What, like?
It became a nickname.
Right.
A nickname is a name you give someone that isn't their real name. Like someone might call you.
What was it called before?
Eek name.
What does that mean, an eek name? Where does that come from? That's not a fruit.
No!
Right.
Oh, man. Heaven help us all. Oranges are not necessarily orange, and there's a good case for saying that they started out as greens. What do swimming pools smell of?
Children.
Probably true. Yep.
Well, the answer I suspect you're looking for.
Oh, dear!
Is chlorine.
Oh!
Which they will do if you put chlorine in them.
No, you don't smell the chlorine. In fact, if there is that smell that we don't like, the way to get rid of it is to add chlorine.
Chlorine reacting with the child's urine.
Yeah. But the fact is that chloramines are formed by sweat and urine and fecal matter and all kinds of other horrible things in swimming pools added to chlorine. And the way to get rid of them is to add chlorine. So before I get to the business of making up your scores, I should tell you that not one of you managed correctly to identify the hoax, because the idea of the hoax was itself a hoax. There was no hoax.
This is an outrage. This is like the end of Lost.
It's endearing how much it matters to them. So everything you heard was as true as trousers. So the winner tonight, wow, the winner tonight with an impressive -1 is Sean Locke.
This discredited show.
Second with an improbable -13 is David Mitchell. Third with a doing pretty good -14, Danny Baker. And last with a surprisingly convincing -38, Alan Davies. So my thanks to David, Danny, Sean and Alan, and I leave you with this observation from Will Rogers. The trouble with practical jokes is that very often they get elected. Thank you and good night. Good evening and welcome to QI, where we have an ill-assorted imbroglio of interesting items initiated by I. Here for your immediate inspection are the inestimable John Bishop, the inimitable Frank Skinner, the incomparable Sean Lott. Thank you. And Alan Davies is also in. Hooray! Now, this evening, their buzzers are intentionally irritating. John goes... Frank goes...
How long is this show?
It depends how often you use the buzzer. Sean goes... Oh! And Alan goes... Well... Now... As John and Frank have never played the game before, I should explain that each of you has a nobody knows placard. You might just like to show it. It's a question mark.
Nobody knows.
That's it. There will be a question tonight to which nobody knows the answer. And if you think, when I ask that question, that this is the question to which there is no known answer, you wave your card and you get extra points.
It looks like they had Strictly Come Dancing one night and someone did a dance so experimental.
You can consider it that way. Now, to warm up the new boys, here's an easy one to begin with. What's the French for innuendo?
Is it double entendre? No, I've just remembered that double entendre is French for big tits, isn't it?
The double entendre means nothing to a Frenchman. You could say double entente. Entente is like a...
Two-man tent.
Good. Or double sens, double sense. But they don't say double entendre.
So it's a French phrase that the French don't use. So
Yes.
it's not French.
Exactly. And that's precisely what this round of questions is about. There are other examples of that. Suppose you're at a performance, someone is very brilliant and you want them to perform again.
Encore.
You'd shout encore. What would they shout in France?
More.
It's a good thought. But encore is a French word meaning more, but they don't shout encore when they want. They shout a Latin word, which means twice.
Twice.
Anyone?
Anyone
Anyone in the audience? Bis, bis, B-I-S.
Beef.
Bis, yeah, that's what they shout.
That's
try encore.
You need to do a show, wouldn't you? And at the end, everyone goes, beef! It's like that.
Well, there are other phrases which we use, which sound French, but again mean nothing to a Frenchman. Cause célèbre is not a French phrase. Like ensuite for a bathroom, the French would they go, what?
Yeah. What about bidet?
Bidet they do indeed have, though it's easier really to do a handstand in the shower, to be honest. And if you want the expense of a bidet, yes.
Easier.
If you're as nimble as I am, yeah.
I'd pay good money to see that. I'd like to see you doing that with a camera going, tweet this.
The trouble is with the handstand in the shower, though. It's like, you know when you see a mountain stream and you think the water looks all right, but I don't know where it's been further on. When you're upside down and this water is pouring across your face, lodging in your nostrils, and you know that it's been...
Oh, that's a worry.
That's what puts... I had a friend who, he had read somewhere that if you slept upside down, it made you more intelligent. because the blood went
to
to your brain.
Yeah.
And I became obsessed with the idea that he would have a wet dream and die.
Oh, that's so, in so many ways, a horrific image. So, yes, there are words we use. Décolletage, for example, we use for that. The French has used décolleté for that, not décolletage.
Excuse me, when you say we, you mean you?
Well, it's not a common phrase, but
No, it's not. No, it's a look at the décolletage on that.
Could you put...
You never stop learning. I've already learned how to say to my teenage sons, look at the knockers on that, without the mum getting annoyed.
And now you can say décolletage.
Décolletage, well,
I thought it too. Also, ensuite, which is used commonly these days for a bathroom that's connected to a bedroom. In France, they don't use the phrase
And of course,
ensuite.
the ensuite.
Exactly. The French do not.
Commonly used.
There's a Greek phrase. The Greeks say katatria staeftika, I think it is. And it means who gives a shit. But literally it means there is trouble in the gypsy village.
It's true. And depending on what up you are on the social calendar, it's right, isn't it? It's, most people wouldn't give a shit if they wanted.
Anyway, that's the point. You can ask a Frenchman for a double entendre if you like, but you'll be lucky if he gives you one. Now to some... Thank you very much. Now to some iTunes. Who wrote the songs I'm Leaning on a Lamppost and When I'm Cleaning Windows? Yeah.
Definitely not George Formby, even though his wife, Beryl, insisted that George had a credit so that he'd get money.
You're absolutely right. I happen to know you're a bit of a fan of George Formby, aren't you?
I am indeed, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Leaning on a Lamppost was one of his big hits, as is When I'm Cleaning Windows.
When I'm cleaning windows, is that the one that's really a bit dodgy?
Well, there was a phrase in here, the blushing bride, she looks divine, the bridegroom, he is doing fine, I'd rather have his job than mine when I'm cleaning windows. The BBC banned it. However, George Formby was invited to do a performance at Windsor in front of the royal family in 1941, and some troops during the war, obviously, and the Queen Mother insisted he sing the song properly, not with any cut verses, and she liked it so much she asked him to sing it another 2 or 3 times, but the BBC still banned it. Now, you're a special group, George Formby fans, and it's usual amongst George Formby fans, I believe, that they teach themselves the banjolele. And as you are one, we have a banjolele. Can you delight us with some Formby?
Am I on the spot?
I don't know if it's tuned or not, but I mean, just do what you
don't
can
worry
with
about
it.
that.
We'd be very happy.
My dog has fleas, is what you need to remember. My dog has... Well, this one doesn't have fleas, he has distemper. When I'm cleaning windows, there's got another bit that goes... 8 o'clock, a girl awakes at 8:10. A bath she takes at 8:15. My ladder breaks when I'm cleaning windows. The bit that goes... There's a famous movie queen, she looks a beauty on the screen. She's more like 80 than 18. When I'm cleaning windows, she takes her hair down or behind, then takes down her nevermind, and finally takes down the blind when I'm cleaning windows.
Cheeky! Brilliant. Oh. There is a tradition, I don't know how much it exists in other languages, whether it is a peculiarly English thing, of the tradition of Frankie Howerd, Carry On, and so on.
They can be very clever, though, those things.
Yes.
Do you remember that? There used to be a form of joke, and it used to be, she was only a so-and-so's daughter.
She was only a road mender's daughter, but she liked having her asphalt, or whatever it was.
That's it.
She was only a fishmonger's daughter, but she could lay it on the slab and say, fill it.
Yes.
Anyway, that's probably enough in the end. If I see another double entendre, I'll whip it out and probably stick a blue pencil through it. Now, let's play.
How ironic is that?
Yes, I'm going to outline some situations, and all you have to do is to tell me how ironic they are and why. Okay.
Is it out of 100?
No, you can just give me a sort of sense of just exactly how ironic you think they are.
I'm just worried about how we grade the irony.
Okay.
I would say shiny.
Shall I tell you?
Down to rusty.
Shall I tell you what the shades of irony supposedly are? Because I think what we're getting at is the word irony is often weirdly misused. People say, ironically, he wasn't there, or something. You know, you mean
Invisible Man?
Yeah. So, there's verbal irony.
He was there.
Verbal irony, the opposite of what's as clear as mud, or this is a fine state of affairs, or whatever, which is slightly less than sarcasm. That's verbal irony. There's comic irony. Dr. Strangelove, gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room, for example, is a kind of ironic remark. That's considered generally ironic. Dramatic irony.
Little does he know that I'm...
Yeah, the audience knows Oedipus is the very murderer that he's hunting, as it were. It's a dramatic irony.
As in dive thoughts down to my soul. Here Clarence comes.
That's just the kind of thing of Richard III and others. Yes, very good.
Ladies and gentlemen, an all-round entertainer.
And then there's Socratic irony, which is pretending to be dumber than you are, like a sort of, like Socrates, or like Columbo, Lieutenant Columbo, of the greatest ever detective. There you are. God, isn't that the greatest ever show?
Like Socrates or Lieutenant Columbo.
Yeah. And I would be hard put to say...
I know they both did that, but beyond that, I haven't...
I'd be hard put to say which was greater. I do happen to think Columbo is the greatest television series ever made.
Do you know, Stephen, I absolutely agree with you.
I'm glad to hear you.
I once spent a long night with David Baddiel having an argument about whether Columbo had one eye or not.
Right, Peter Falk, you mean? Yeah.
Well, no.
Or Columbo.
This was the debate. My argument was that Peter Falk does indeed have one eye, but in Columbo, that eye plays the part of a real eye.
Yes! I think there's truth in that.
Yeah.
I absolutely
Columbo
agree.
has two eyes.
That's how good he was, I agree.
And how did this argument go on for so long? Was it like Women in Love?
Dave wasn't having it. He wouldn't have it.
He wouldn't have it.
No.
Were you wrestling naked in front of a fire? Women in Love.
Well, that was how we had to decide it in the end. We couldn't find a coin.
No. So what is this ironic? John Kendrick was an American sea captain who put into Honolulu Harbour in 1794 and was killed by the cannon which was fired to salute him. Now, we have this down as situational and arguably comic irony, though the audience was very sympathetic, I'm going to say. Yeah.
That's fairly ironic.
It's pretty ironic, isn't it?
I think it's almost spangly. Yeah. That's almost up in the spangly section.
Yes. Well, now, what about Clement Vallandigham, who was an Ohio lawyer who died in 1871 while defending a man who was accused of murder during a barroom brawl? Now, in order to show the jury how the pistol might have gone off accidentally, this lawyer grabbed a gun, put it in his pocket, and reenacted the events as he imagined them. And sure enough, the pistol went off.
Shot by a cannon.
No, the pistol went off, and he was killed by the gun in exactly the way that he was describing. So, just before he died from his own wounds, his client was acquitted.
And the good thing is, his client didn't have to pay.
No, exactly. It's kind of perfect. Situational irony, I think that would be called. But now, what about this Lincoln? Abraham Lincoln was shot while sitting in Ford's Theatre, while Kennedy was shot while sitting in a Ford Lincoln. And there are many other coincidences like that. But these are, that's just simply coincidence, not irony.
Reagan was shot in Washington, and Washington was shot with a ray gun.
If only that were true. It would almost be worth inventing a time machine and going back with a ray gun just to do that.
It's true, but nobody knew what a ray gun was then. No. So they just went, what's that?
There you are. I'm going to come across another ironic. This is rather ironic. In 1989, in America, convicted murderer Michael Godwin had his sentence reduced to life imprisonment after 5 years awaiting the electric chair. But he was then accidentally electrocuted while sitting naked on a steel lavatory seat in his cell in Colombia. He was trying to fix his television set. He bit into a wire and was electrocuted. That is a kind of cosmic irony, really.
That's not irony, that's God's will.
It's God's will. I think you may well be right. That's irony for you. The things we call irony often really aren't that ironic. Ironically, or not. Now, for some inside information, what's inside this? Anyone can tell me? It's a natural thing?
Well, it looks like a coconut.
It could be an elephant turd, couldn't it?
It could be. It isn't. This thing is actually a nut. Weirdly, the things inside it are not nuts, but the things inside it are familiar to all of us as nuts. This is how these grow. Here they are.
Oh, Brazil nuts.
Brazil nuts. They grow inside. These are actually seeds, but we call them nuts. Biologically, these are the seeds, and they grow inside this, which is the nut. They grow on top of the tree. They're very heavy. They fall down. They've been known to kill people. But it's a very strange life cycle they have, because this tree cannot be cultivated, so they're only wild. So it's only wild trees that produce these nuts, inside which are the Brazils. And they can only be pollinated by a very particular bee. And that bee will only be able to pollinate it if there is in the area a very particular orchid. So there's a really strange kind of chain of necessary life situations in order for us to get our purple quality street, essentially. There is something unique as well about the Brazil nut. As you probably know, there are people who are allergic to nuts, but the Brazil nut uniquely, amongst all the nuts, this is really unfortunate, is you can sexually transmit Brazil nut to a partner. That is to say, if a male has eaten a Brazil nut and they inseminate a person who is allergic, that person's allergy will be affected by it.
Oh, that's a good murder plot,
Isn't it?
It is amazing.
I actually feel right in the middle of an episode of House now. Because that is...
Isn't it
How on
extraordinary?
earth has that been found out?
Surely the woman would feel the Brazil nut.
I think you may have slightly misunderstood.
Really.
May contain nuts. We must ask the QI audience, both the physical one here and those watching the television, to be our experimental cohort. And I want you all to eat Brazil nuts and then make love to your beloveds.
I'll eat the nuts.
Yep. Sean is volunteering
I'm happy to eat the
on
nuts.
that side.
You line up, I'll eat the nuts, and let's check it out.
Right. There you are.
Let's do this.
Let's do this thing for science.
Yeah.
Incidentally, does anyone know, in a packet of mixed nuts, why do the Brazils always rise to the top?
Surely nobody knows that.
You're right. You're right. I'm very impressed. It is a known and observable process that we're in bags of muesli and nuts. The Brazil nuts do seem to go to the top. And scientists have worked hard to try and understand why. At first they thought it was because the little ones settle down through and leave the big ones at the top. But the fact is, as Alan correctly surmised, nobody knows exactly what causes the Brazil nut effect. What do the signal bars on your phone mean?
Well, it means how much signal you can...
Don't be scared.
Well, they mean how
well
thing
you're
in the with the
receiving
speak in the sky that it come through, and then it's not there, all gone.
You're getting it.
I need it in English, I'm
How
afraid,
much
in
you
order to
get.
be able to give points.
Talkie power all gone away. Up sky, no fly down in here.
Big bird in sky.
Yeah.
You're either connected
Go
or you're
away,
not
be
connected,
talkie, no
aren't you?
bye.
Basically,
So
me here,
levels
not
of
now.
connectivity are a bit
Yes,
relevant.
the fact is, really, again, I would have accepted a nobody knows card. Too late now.
Me here, not
because
now.
basically there's no standardisation between manufacturers and different handset makers have different ways of showing what is apparently a full signal, and we're all apparently really thrilled because look, I've got 5 bars going up. Absolutely meaningless.
How many nobody knows questions are there in this tonight?
Nobody knows. And now we sink our claws into the soft underbelly of knowledge and tear out the fetid entrails of general ignorance. So fingers on buzzers, please. What use is an inflatable anchor? Yes.
Is it for hot air balloons?
Very smart answer. No, that isn't. Yes.
Is it to stop submarines from going too low?
When the surface is incredibly sandy and a standard claw anchor would have nothing to catch on to, you send down an inflatable one. It's a spike. It goes into the sand, and you then inflate it with fluid, not with air, in fact, and then it lodges in the sand, and that's what they're used for. Now you know. Good. Which animal did Richard I have 3 of on his shirt?
Now, can I suggest that at this point in history, no one in England had ever seen a lion? Is that possible? So, it's not a lion.
What did Richard I spend most of his time doing?
I don't know.
Crusading.
There weren't any lions in Arabia, were there?
There were lions all over Africa.
They're bloody everywhere they were.
So he saw a lion.
They had zoos. The town of London had a menagerie. It was a little later, I grant you.
You had a picnic in those days. Not wasps. Lions. Millions of them.
Get off my sandwich!
What? Point is...
Decent lions! Swans are the bastards.
He looks like, you know what he looks like? He looks like he's going, "We'll get you in your suit of armour." Doesn't he? He looks like he's doing a sort of, ooh.
This is the badge of English royalty that was first used by Richard I. And it's 3...
Well, I'm saying not lions.
You're right to avoid the word lions. They were known as leopards. They called them leopards. They were not particularly familiar with the difference between a leopard and a lion. A leopard really just means a bearded lion. Leopard, and it's a heraldic thing. If they were in that shape, sideways on, those were leopards.
You know,
so
that
there was a song, wasn't there?
There was a song.
Wasn't there, Frank Skinner?
And that would have caused me a lot of scanning problems.
Yes, it would, wouldn't it? It was based, however, on a lie. 3 lions on my shirt.
It was based on a lion.
3 leopards on my shirt.
Were they rampant or couchant?
Good question.
It's got to be sign of the century.
Yes. They were actually passant gardant, but the rampant lion is the sign of the kings of Scotland.
Very hairy knees, the Scottish one.
Yes, they have. They would be called lions in heraldry, whereas the 3 lions on the shirt would in fact be known as leopards. So, which years did your song chart? Frank Skinner and David Baddiel's 3 Lions. It was number 1 in...
96.
Yeah.
And then again in 98.
Yeah. It charted in...
And then it charted in 2000.
And 2. It missed out 2000, I'm afraid. Did it? Yeah. 2002, 2006 and 2010. That's quite impressive.
I must check my platinum discs. Yes, it was... I think we can safely say we milked it.
You milked those leopards. You milked those.
Can I ask, was it big in any other country?
It got to the top 10 in the Germans when the Germans actually won Euro 96, which is what the song was originally written for. They figured that they'd won the song as well. So they were on the balcony in Berlin, leading the crowd in 3 lions on a shirt. Yeah.
My God.
Now that's irony.
Very good. The fact is, anyone can get a grant of arms. You only need £4,225, which is cheaper than some, cherished number plates. Sir Christopher Frayling, the former chairman of the Arts Council, who's something of an expert on Clint Eastwood movies, took a motto which is Perge Scelus Diem Perficias.
Go ahead, punk, make my day.
Yes! Very good. In heraldic, proceed varlet and render perfect the day. But yeah.
On my coat of arms, it says Catatreus dieptica. There is trouble in the
duty. Trouble in the duty.
What's the Latin for knick-knack, knocky-noo?
Frank Skinner's career as a pop star is in fact built on a lamentable terminological inexactitude, or lie. Now, name... If you can, see if you can name a living animal whose scientific name is exactly the same as its common name.
Is it a gorilla called Gorilla?
Yes, unfortunately... I'm afraid that's right. Unfortunately, it's called gorilla, but the common name for it is just gorilla. There's only one animal we can think of where the common name for it is exactly the same as its Latinate...
Does it sound a bit Latin-y?
Sort of does in a way.
Rhinoceros?
No, that's Greek, but it's not that. No, that doesn't sound very Latin
Horse?
at all. No, that's equus. Yes. No, it's not a mammal. Okay.
Right.
It's not a mammal.
Not a
Frog?
mammal. No, it's not. It's not. It's herpetic. It's ophidian. It's long and it's narrow.
A couple of words
Snake.
there, it just went-
Snake. It's a kind of snake.
Oh, it's a kind of snake, not snake.
No, it's species we're after.
All right. I speak because you know about them. You don't go, look, snake.
Yes.
You go, it's Snacus camunculus.
Exactly. There is one where precisely that.
Boa constrictor.
Boa constrictor is the right answer. Yes. The scientific name for the boa constrictor is boa constrictor. And as far as we can tell at QI, there is no other animal where that is true. There's some plants where it's true, aloe vera or whatever, but no living animal, as far as we know, except the boa constrictor, has the same common name in English as scientific name. Now, what's wrong with these bananas?
They're upside down.
Yes is the right answer. They're upside down. Bananas do not grow like that. They grow like that. They grow upwards.
My area of expertise.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed. Well done. You probably know something else about bananas, which is quite interesting. They have a quality, you might almost call it a negative quality, which some other foods have, including these. And that is they are faintly radioactive. Not that there's any harm in eating bananas, because the isotope in question for potassium is K40 is present in our bodies in any case. Especially in men, in our little naughty areas.
Is that why they look like bananas?
No. No, actually, within the epididymes, these...
Speak for yourself.
Actually, yes.
I'm waiting for mine to stop being green.
Oh, no.
I'm more in the line with the Brazil nut.
How long is the half-life of the radioactive component of a banana?
I'd say 6 hours.
1.25 billion years.
Get any bit out, then.
You weren't just a spot out there. But Brazil nuts contain radium and are 1,000 times more radioactive than other foods. We're told that if you walk into a nuclear power plant with a pocket full of Brazils, you're liable to set off the radiation leak alarm. True story.
And get a bit of a reputation.
Yes, definitely get a bit
Here
of a
he
reputation.
comes, cheeky chappy with his pocket full of Brazil nuts.
Which brings me to the nutty scores. Well, my goodness, my gracious, and my word. We have a tie for first place. And would you believe, and not Harry Hill here, wonderful as he is, would you believe that our two winners are tied for first place? They're our first-time players, Frank Skinner and John Bishop, 4 points! And in third place, with minus 14 points, it's Sean Locke. But I'm afraid that the current that settled at the bottom of the box with minus 21 is Alan Davies. That's your lot for this week. My thanks to John, Frank, Sean and Alan. And I'll leave you with these wise words from Groucho Marx. He may look like an idiot, he may sound like an idiot, but don't let that fool you. He really is an idiot. Good night. Welcome to QI, where tonight our topic is journeys. And let's see who's in the arrivals hall today. All the way up from down under, it's Cal Wilson. The only way here is from Essex, Phil Jupitus. And from Port Talbot Parkway, stopping at Pyle, Bridgend, Pencoed, Llanharan, Pontydwn, Ninian Park and Cardiff Central, Rob Brydon. And bearing the label Not Wanted on Voyage, Alan Davies. And And they all have little buzzer noises, and Cal goes. And Rob goes. Phil goes. Which you do, in fact, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. And Alan goes. That's your chosen mode of transport. Well, we've travelled a lot, Alan, and one of the places we travelled to a few months ago was Australia, and that's where we found Cal, who is New Zealand's perhaps greatest stand-up comedian and works mostly in Melbourne now, don't you?
Yes, I do. I've got the Antipodes covered.
Yeah. But we liked you so much, we smuggled you in our luggage and we brought you back here. So welcome.
Thank you. And I'll make a better souvenir than an interesting keyring, I suppose.
Exactly, exactly.
I did want a koala, but...
A stuffed koala.
Not on, apparently.
No. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single question. Where the hell did I leave my passport?
I lost mine in a plane once, and it had gone down under the cushion of my seat.
Oh. Yeah.
The actual plane seat.
Yeah.
I was on the plane for 8. I refused to get off the plane.
Yeah. You have to get your seat disassembled. I've had that.
And eventually I found it. That's the end of the story.
Oh, that's a beautiful story. That is a lovely, lovely story.
Stephen, is that Alan Davies or is it... Hang on, is it Peter Ustinov? That was a hell of an anecdote. If that is the level of the bar this evening, I may go home.
Is it you, specifically you? Where did you leave your passport?
Well, no, it's this technique from the University of Wisconsin. When you lose something, it actually helps to say the name of the thing that you have lost or you're looking for.
Dignity.
Yes, exactly.
For me, that would make it worse. I would just draw attention to it.
Your wallet has a name.
Well, no, just...
Peregrine! Peregrine! Bah! Peregrine!
That's how... It might work.
It has now.
Yes. Now it would be called Peregrine. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is, for example, you open a cutlery drawer, and where the hell's the garlic peeler or whatever? If you just say garlic peeler...
The garlic peeler
or whatever, it might be...
Andrew! Andrew!
You're missing my point about names here. I just mean the word we give the thing. Its normal description as found in a dictionary, not from a list of given names. So it isn't Julian the cheese grater. It isn't Barbara the corkscrew.
So what did you do? You have to say that you have to say wallet.
Well,
if keys.
Yeah, exactly. So you say sort of, bottle opener. You've got more chance of seeing it. You're
money.
You know,
gold.
You know that phrase? It was just staring me in the face, and you somehow couldn't see it. The act of speaking does something in your brain that actually allows your eyes to see it more clearly. That seems to have been demonstrated.
Reminds me of that phrase, Stephen. Couldn't see the wood for the trees. Have you ever come across that phrase before?
I have.
What it basically means is you're looking at weight.
Yeah.
You're looking for wood.
Yes. Yeah.
Not the way you might.
Not in that
sense. You're looking for wood.
Yeah.
And you're looking at trees.
Yes.
So you are, in essence, looking at wood.
They're wood, aren't they?
But you're I've got it, Alan. But you're seeing trees, so you can't see the wood for the trees. And I think, in a funny old way, it's a little bit like what you're talking about, isn't it?
Almost exactly not.
Yeah.
It's nice you brought that up. It's a good...
Now, the other thing, before I finish, the other thing I'd like to bring up is this whole business now with passports. They don't like you to smile in the photograph.
Oh, no.
When I grew up, a smile was almost mandatory. Like if you're...
Yep.
But now you have to look like you're suspected of having done something.
I look like a Russian prison guard in my passport photo.
I can see that. I can see that. Absolutely. Hatchet-faced Silesian fishman. Yeah.
Every single photo me booth I get into appears to be set on paedophile.
Try and recreate that look for us now, could you?
No, right, for a kick-off, what you have to do in a photo me booth is they don't let you wear glasses either. And also, because the camera lens is behind the mirror and you don't know where it really is, you're always looking slightly off...
oh, that's true.
So, is it down... OK, this is the look.
Stay away from my children. It gets you out of a lot of babysitting duties, though, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
But our passports would probably look quite good together because you're the paedophile and I'm the prison guard.
Wow.
Yeah, we should
affair.
travel together.
Yes.
I'm with my Kiwi handler. Do Kiwis have handlers?
They're not very good for
Are they
eating.
edible?
We're not allowed to eat them.
Like swans. I mean, the Queen's allowed them. Is the Queen allowed Kiwis?
I don't think she is.
I mean, can she just eat anything she wants because she's the Queen?
I wouldn't be the one to tell her not to. But
I imagine not.
No. Stop eating that kiwi, you dreadful old woman.
I imagine that you'd be a bit more polite. You are Stephen Fry off the telly.
You don't have to do the dreadful.
No, I could just... No, but it would be a dreadful thing to do.
You'd say, stop eating that kiwi, ma'am, and jam.
Exactly.
Your Majesty, put the puffin down. Let's just have a load of situations where we're telling the
That
Queen
sounds
to
like
stop
a
eating
children's
things.
game. We now have a round of Your Majesty put the puffin down. You're the Queen, so 1, 2, 3.
Trousers off.
Your Majesty put the puffin down. Yes, very good. Anyway, I don't know why or how we got there, but that's what journeys do to you. Anyway, describe the travel arrangements of the Japanese flying snail.
Where is it going?
It probably won't travel more than 11 miles, but very fast.
Does it drop?
Yes,
Is
but...
it a fall?
Yeah, but how would it get up?
They haven't got wings, have they, you see?
No, they haven't.
Flying.
They so haven't got wings. But we haven't got wings and we fly. How do we do
Right,
it?
no,
In an aeroplane.
We get in an aeroplane. We get in some...
Oh, I got the answer
We get
to
in a
this.
conveyance that flies.
They hop on a bird or a creature with wings.
Yes.
A bird.
Yeah.
They
Could have been a bat.
could have been a bat.
Yeah.
Could have been a bat or a bird.
Yeah, or
Or a strange hybrid of bird bat. They hop onto a creature with the ability to fly.
But 11 miles, that's very, very
Yeah.
high.
It's not the height, it's not the altitude, never mind. They travel...
I've still got it in my head that they're dropping 11 miles.
No. It's not a voluntary act. They get eaten by birds. There are two types of birds. On the little island of Hahajima. Hahajima, it's one of the Agasawara Islands, south of Japan, as you can see. And there is the Japanese white-eye and the brown-eyed bulbul, which are two types of bird. There they are.
Yeah.
And they eat this particular snail. And about 15% of them survive the process and are excreted out alive. And so they're kind of spreading their
Is this to
their
scale?
genes further around, yeah.
Because that seems unlikely.
No, it's not. That would be a seriously weighed down.
That snail would eat
bulbul.
that bird. I'd bite back the snail.
Is the bird on the left, is that a white ring round its eye, or is it just excreted a full-size snail?
Whoa! It can be up to between 30 minutes or 2 hours later that it passes through the bird system, as it were, and the bird can fly at about 11 miles per hour.
Does the snail go into his own shell, by which I don't mean get a little self-conscious? does he retreat into his
I
shell
should imagine he
to
would.
take shelter?
I should imagine he would.
But don't they pick them out of the shell anyway? Don't they get in the...
Like you do in a restaurant with a special fork.
They've got a special
Which
fork.
is called armour.
They've got a special
I'm writing down
Armour,
I've got
armour.
an ice cream scoop called Vanessa.
Yes. So anyway...
What would you call one of those pizza cutters, the roly pizza cutter?
Clement.
Clement. No, fair enough.
Dave.
Well, there you are. Yes, good. So the cry goes up, abandoned ship now. That's our next question. Abandoned ship. Now, we're proud Britons and one proud Kiwi. What do we say next? What do we chaps say?
No, women and children first.
Well, yes. So far as we know, it's only ever been cried twice. It's called the Birkenhead drill, and it happened on board a ship called the Birkenhead, but that was because the captain pointed a gun at his crew and said, women and children first. This has not been an idea that had especially existed before. And in fact, it's very un-British. Women have a lesser chance of surviving if a British ship sinks than a continental one.
That's good to know.
Yep. Yeah. So we aren't the gallant creatures that we thought we were at all. The Titanic was the other one in which the men were told to stand back. And there was, we've had this on QI before, there was one crew member who survived, went all the way home to Liverpool, and he had the door slammed in his face by his mother, who was ashamed of him for having survived. But in fact, more...
Sounds nice.
Yeah, charming, isn't it? Really extraordinary. Well, I mean, unbelievable. But obviously, you want a fair number of fit, strong people who know their way around the waters, as it were, once you're in the lifeboat. Because if it's all women and children, there's not really going to be that much necessarily use in being in a lifeboat. You need at least one crew member who can navigate by the stars or who can operate the oars efficiently.
Or isn't going, oh, look, there's a fish over there, let's go over there.
Yes, exactly. I wasn't going to be the one to say that. I'm glad you did. I've heard of the Birkenhead drill. It's not common. Anyway, how long would it take you to bicycle from Land's End to the northernmost part of Britain?
What, John O'Groats, you mean?
Oh! Wasn't it?
Don't know, ask clear, well-defined questions.
We just like to make you say...
You can't buzz me on chit-chat.
No, it's not the northernmost part of Britain.
Is it not?
No, surprisingly. It sort of advertises itself as such, and it has a little hut. That's the last house in Scotland in John O'Groats.
Oh, there's one of those boys in calipers with a slot in his box. I haven't seen one of those for
A long
years.
time ago, I know.
There was one of those on the high street when I was a kid.
Well, it used to be called the Spastic Society. It's now Scope, I think, isn't
You
it?
put a penny in and he was still there the next week.
Did you put the penny in to make him go away?
So I thought it would get him better. Poor lad.
Oh, bless.
You look at him there, he's on his holidays there.
I used to like those ones where you put the penny in and it just rolled round and round and round and round and round.
We had a guide dog, he put the penny in his
I know.
head. He had a lifeboat one, and then he put the penny in and the
That's right.
lifeboat came out.
Yeah, I
He's
like
always
that.
putting pennies in things.
There's a brilliant model of Queen Victoria's dog in Sydney outside the Queen Victoria building, and it's like you put a donation, but it talks. So it's a little like Highland Terrier, and it says in very beautiful newsreader tones, "During my lifetime, because of my good deeds, after my death, I was granted the power of speech." Like this, and then it goes, "If you put a coin in the box, I will say thank you." And then it pauses, and then it goes, "Thank you." Woof.
That lad said nothing to me.
Not a word.
Every week I put something in his box.
Which do you put it in the box, or is it his
You
head?
put it in
or
his,
is it...
It's got a slot in his box. He might have two slots. Some of them would have two slots.
2 slots in their box, yeah. Women have... No, stop. I never said that. It's,
I resign.
yeah, it's quite absolutely
We've established
shameful.
this is not your area.
He looks...
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you're talking about Narnia or something. It's a fantastical land you've only heard about.
Exactly.
You make your way through the fur coats and suddenly...
Wielding a coin. A
And
single
for a while
coin.
you have a magical time, but then you meet an ice maiden.
Oh, dear God. Anyway, yes.
You're telling me there's somewhere further than John
There is
O'Groats?
indeed Dunnet Head. That's the actual northernmost spot. So if you've got all the way to John O'Groats and you haven't gone there, you just
The cycle on there, though, would you?
No,
It's a bit
that's
bumpy
it's
and-
rather beautiful, isn't it? It's about 603 miles as the crow flies, but by road it's about 800 miles. Cyclists could take 10 to 14 days doing it. The record for running the route, what would you say is? Have a guess.
You couldn't do it in less than a week, could you?
No. It's 9 days and 2 hours, which is pretty damn good going.
I'll say.
In 2005, a golfer named David Sullivan hit a golf ball all the way. Took him 7 weeks. I don't know what his score was. It'd be awful if he didn't fill in his card correctly at the end. Disqualified.
Was it a putter?
Did he mean to do it? Did he mean to do it, or was he just trying to get it in the
He was
hole?
just
anyway?
playing it where it lies. And
I'll miss it again.
it would land in the back of a lorry going the other direction.
I feel sorry for the bloke that was standing waiting for him holding the flag.
So people have done it all kinds of different ways. In 1911, there was a motorcycle record of 29 hours and 12 minutes, which led to a ban on further attempts because the time necessarily proved that they'd been breaking the speed limit, which was 20 miles per hour. Now, here's a bird you might see near John O'Groats. What is it?
Well...
Gannet.
Not a gannet, it's not a falcon.
Is it the one puffin the Queen hasn't eaten?
It is a puffin. Well done.
It's a puffin.
It's a puffin. Yes, we usually think of puffins as looking
Where's
more
its
like
beak?
this,
It's
don't we?
bill.
There, that's exactly. Well,
Photoshop,
when they've had
Photoshop.
sex
It's a
and it's winter,
ninja puffin.
once they've had sex and it's winter, they don't need to look all bright like that, and so they go all dull.
Its beak is... Well, I
And
suppose
the beak
its
actually
is
falls
shrunken
off.
after
It falls
sex.
off.
Falls off?
Yes.
What?
Yep. I know. It's just there to attract a mate, and then once...
The dirty, dirty puffin.
Is it the equivalent of a woman losing her figure after she's got married?
I suppose.
The minute the ring goes on, they just go to pieces.
Oh, no,
To me, it looks more like the equivalent of a woman taking her padded bra off. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yes, though, I'm afraid
She's
no.
just not making an effort anymore, is she?
The eye there, has that just been stuck on the other eye?
Yeah, again, it's a colour there. It's all
Just
to
blind. I look great.
all to look bright and sexy.
Oh, hello, it's work.
They rather sweetly pair for life, male and female puffins, and they make together one egg a year. So once they've mated, they don't need to attract each other anymore. So they, you know, for the winter season, when there's, you know, they're busy feeding, and they just, and then they sort of. Put
I
on,
remember
put on
when
their
you
spring
cared about
makeup.
me.
Exactly. But then
You
they
used
do
to have a pink beak. You used to
then
put
it
the eye
comes back.
makeup on.
It comes back again.
Comes back.
Yeah. So but they're lovely, lovely little creatures, aren't they? Do you know what a baby puffin is called?
A puff.
It's it ought to be. It's a puffling. Isn't that lovely? So exactly.
That's like something out of Harry Potter.
They
sounds-
love that.
It sounds like it's
Say it again, they loved it.
puffling.
How many people now have a new nickname for their partner?
Exactly, puffling.
Partner, did you say?
It sounds
Yeah.
I said
something
for a
like
moment.
something
I
made
was
out
going to
of.
say their penis.
For some people, that is their partner.
My puffling.
I don't like those party hats you can get with a bit of elastic. The one on the left, he looks like a whoop. It could easily.
Honestly, a toucan could do great on that puffin island. You imagine?
He'd score big time.
Oh, Nelly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, ladies.
Well, they spend their time.
From the tropics. This doesn't fall off after. No, I'm keeping this. Yeah, I've still got the Guinness money.
They are.
It'd be freezing cold though, wouldn't it, after a while? Oh, do this.
It's
Oh,
true.
would his beak get smaller in the winter?
These are very.
Are these just Arctic toucans?
Well, no, they're not actually. They're a kind of orc, in fact. Most of those you'll find in the North Atlantic. These, indeed, John O'Groats would be a very good place to see them.
Not Auckland.
But not Auckland, oddly enough. That's spelled with a C, a little redundant C, A-U-C-K.
Oh, of course it is,
Yeah. But out to sea, they're pelagic, and they have little backward, sort of like barbed rows of things to basically to store fish in their mouth. But they're lovely, lovely creatures. Of course, the Catholic Church counted them as fish, so you could eat them on Fridays. Good. So, anyway, for evolutionary reasons, puffins' beaks fall off after sex, assuming you believe in evolution, that is, like that. What was the name of the naturalist on board the Beagle?
Charles Darwin, you mean?
Oh.
Oh, right! This is a whole new tactic he's doing.
He wasn't the naturalist on board the Beagle. Oddly enough, there was an official naturalist on board the Beagle, and it wasn't Charles Darwin. He was the...
I don't care anymore.
Oh, you're angry. I'm sorry. Philip, I wish it hadn't
He was the
happened to you.
cook.
He wasn't the cook, no.
He was the figurehead on the prow.
He wasn't that either. He was, in fact, the geologist.
The geologist.
It was the doctor, whose name was McCormack, who was the official naturalist, and he really resented Darwin being there. It was rather snobbish British 19th century reasons. Is that Fitzroy, whose voyage it was, wanted a gentleman companion, and Charles Darwin fitted the bill rather more than the doctor. But on Christmas Day in 1835, there's the young Darwin, before he grew that massive beard, they went to Tierra del Fuego, the land of the fire, right down below South America. And there, Darwin was very astonished to note what happened when the local people had a famine, what they turned to eat. Can you imagine what it is that they ate when times were difficult?
Guinea pigs.
No, guinea pigs are eaten generally around
They're
South
just a
America
snack.
quite commonly. That's
One another?
One another is right, but a particular type of person was chosen.
Elderly people.
And a particular type of...
Elderly women?
Elderly women is the answer. The elderly women ran for the hills when there was any kind of famine on because they were the ones...
That's some good old lady. I'm at the Gilf cookbook.
Terrible. That's just awful, Philip, because... but the reason being that...
Their arms are so tender.
Well, they explained to the crew of the Beagle that the reason was, I'm afraid to say, that the old women were the least useful members of the tribe. Because old men and children and others could otter hunt, but the old women couldn't hunt for
What
otters.
about the knitting?
Sorry?
What about the knitting and the crochet?
Well, exactly, I know, exactly.
And who's going to teach you rummy?
That's a very good point. Yes.
You can make dumplings. All these things
How does
only
it-
old ladies can do.
How does their society evolve with nobody to say, oh, I know. Oh, I
Anyway, Now to a place where they had jackal-headed gods. Where would I be?
Egypt.
You didn't quite say that,
Sorry,
did
you
you?
phrased that correctly. What? Egypt, you mean?
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you, exactly. Not Egypt, in fact. Those have been known as jackal-headed god. That particular god, extra points if you know that.
Anubis.
Well done. Anubis is the right answer. Anubis, who was, do you know what the duty of Anubis was?
Something to do with death, didn't he?
Yes.
Guide you into the
He
spirit
conducted
world.
you into the...
Yes.
Brilliant. Another 5 points. I think that there's a rather wonderful technical name for a god that guides you into the underworld, like Mercury, who guided you as far as the river Styx, and that's a psychopomp. Is that a good word?
Psychopomp.
A psychopomp.
Sounds like something you'd find in a medical examination, doesn't
Yes,
it? I'm
yes.
sorry, Mrs. Wilson, you've got psychopomps.
It may be benign. They may
You're
be
gonna have to
malignant. A malignant psychopomp you wouldn't want. But in fact, what has been discovered, and this is you won't find this on Egyptological websites where they'll continue to call Anubis and other Egyptian deities jackal-headed. But the animals that existed at the time of ancient Egypt were, we now know from DNA, wolves, not jackals. So it seems from a zoological point of view, if not from an Egyptological point of view, they are in fact wolf-headed, not jackal-headed. You heard it here first. Very recent discovery. So that's exciting, isn't it? Well, there you are. Which travel organisation includes a mandatory fee for the repatriation of your corpse?
The AA, Thomas Cook.
No, this is a very particular event that you can subscribe to, which and they sort out your travel and your participation in this event, but included in it is a fee for the repatriation of your corpse. It's not expected you'll die, but there's a chance.
It's not running the bulls at Pamplona, is it?
No, it's not the bulls of Pamplona.
It's not one of these Iron Man races, is
It's
it?
that sort of a thing. It's an incredibly difficult marathon. It's called the Marathon des Sables, which your French will tell you means...
Marathon of the Sable.
These little black furry creatures in, yes, sand is sable in French.
Oh, sable, sorry.
Sable, yes. It's the Marathon of the Sands, and it's an extraordinarily enduring and grueling event in which you have to carry your own food, although there are water stops, and it's a 6-day, each day you run a whole marathon in the Sahara Desert.
Very weird.
I know, if I have a friend who does it, she's done it twice. She's absolutely extraordinary.
Did she have to go back because she'd forgotten something?
Two separate years.
Oh, they better not tell Izzard about it.
Yeah,
really? Okay. How many they do? Okay. I'm going to do 120 desert marathons a week for a year. Yeah, true story.
Very good, Eddie, I have to say. Brilliant.
I'm going to the pub every night for 27 years.
This
tribute to Nelson Mandela.
Consider the case of Mauro Prosperi, who was a very experienced runner, an Italian policeman, in fact, who in 1994 was doing the Marathon des Sables, and there was a sandstorm, and he disobeyed the official instructions, which are, if you're in a sandstorm, you hunker down and wait till it passes. I guess he wanted to win or something, so he carried on running, and he got lost. And this is a bad thing in the Sahara, as I'm sure you can imagine. By the second day, he was drinking his urine, naturally. On the third, he found an abandoned shrine, managed to kill a couple of bats whose blood he drank. He then decided to kill himself with a penknife, but he was so dehydrated that the blood wouldn't flow. He was rather surprised and encouraged to wake up the next morning, and so he ran for the next 5 days, drinking urine and dew and eating the occasional lizard that he found and managed to kill on the way. After 9 days, he encountered some nomads who got him back to safety. He'd lost 3 stone and was 130 miles off course in Algeria. And then he did it again for 6 years. He went back and did it again. Amazing. I mean, bizarre, but there you go. It's shish.
No one gives the nomads much credit in
No,
that.
I know, I can say
He was out there for 9 days.
Yeah.
Oh, my whole life.
Yeah, exactly. but
You walk for 6 days. Oh, get over yourself. Doing that when I was 3.
Drinking your own piss, luxury.
But his description of it is really a very good life, isn't it? He said, I didn't panic, I just despaired. There you are. Anyway, what did Napoleon say to Josephine on his way back from a journey?
Ah, I've censored trap. The only thing I know about Napoleon to Josephine was he said,
Yeah.
What was it, Rob? What was it?
Phil.
How?
I'm going to do it. I'm coming back, don't wash.
Oh! That is one of the two things that people know that Napoleon said. Yep, I shall be home soon, don't wash, because he liked them dirty. There is no evidence for that whatsoever. The earliest place this quotation can be sourced is 1981.
I only know the other one.
The other one, which might be... what?
It's the one... Rob, what's it?
Yeah, you know it.
Cal, what? It's really...
I'm still stuck on the no
Pas ce
washing.
soir, Josephine.
Oh.
And I got away with it.
Josephine, on the right there, she's got the same black eyes that all the people in my pictures have got on my computer when I try and get rid of the red eye.
Yes, that's
I end up with massive black dots and
Yeah.
they look like some sort of zombie.
Anyway, I'm sorry you fell into our trap, but now you managed to avoid the trap of Not Tonight, Josephine, which is the other thing he was supposed to have said.
That's the one I know.
That appears in a play, W.G. Wells' play called The Royal Divorce, which didn't come out until 1891, some 70 years after the death of the Emperor.
An army marches on its stomach.
Yes, well, indeed, yes.
Did he say that?
Unlikely to have said that to Josephine, but he might have done. I think he made it more as a sort of, a point about logistics.
Maybe he discussed all sorts of battle stuff.
He might have done. He said,
he
I prefer a lucky general to a skilled one, he said as well. So we don't really know anything particular that Josephine and Napoleon might have said to each other. But we do know one thing. Journey's End. In Lovers' Meeting. That's Shakespeare. And in fourth place... in fourth place, we have, I'm sorry to say, but he did fall into some of our honey traps rather cumbrously. Phil Jupiters with -16. And our little kiwi fruit is third with -8. Cal Wilson. But hold the front page. Second with -3, Rob Brydon. With an astonishing +4, Alan Davies is the winner! Whoa! That's all from Rob, Phil, Cal, Alan and me. The last word on Journeys comes from Emma Bornbeck. She said, seize the moment. Remember all those women on the Titanic who waved away the dessert cart. Have a safe trip. Good night. Good evening, and welcome to QI, where tonight we're cavorting with the K-folk. Please welcome the kind-hearted Catherine Ryan. The keen-eyed Josh Widdicombe. The king-sized Phil Jupiters. Kiss my keister if it isn't Alan Davies. And tonight their buzzers have a story to tell. Catherine goes. Josh goes. Phil goes. And Alan goes. You were sitting the right side of the branch, Alan. So, we start in the Kalahari. So tell me, how did the meerkat cross the road?
Carefully. That's not a life-size one, is it?
That's not a... Well, it is a life-size one.
Really, I'd say it was in the foreground, except there's a bit of road before it.
Yes, it's confusing,
It's
isn't
just
it?
a very tiny car.
It's a dinky car.
Do they cross in a group? Like when you see those kids in the reflective jackets?
Yes.
Snaking across the road with some sort of handler. I think that's what children have.
Well, meerkats are, despite their cutesy reputation, they're pretty mean, fierce animals. And they have levels of superiority. And the leading meerkat sends across the less important meerkat to test the road. And And it's the youngsters.
That'll be you tonight,
Do you want me
John.
to test it tonight?
It's your
children.
first time. You have to cross the set.
Unbelievably, it's the children they send.
The children?
They send their little.
Once again, that'll be me tonight.
Well, we do the same. We do the same with buggies, right? You push that straight onto the road before you.
So what are they testing? That it's not going to get hit by a car?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, that it's safe. And if the youngsters get gobbled, they go, "Oh, I'm not doing that."
Do they not understand that there might be another car in a minute?
It seems odd, but
Well, that one's been killed by a car, so we'll all be fine.
Are the tiny meerkats wearing high-vis jackets like human children do, or do they just rely on their own gorgeousness?
I think they rely on their own gorgeousness. But they're leading the sort of head, not exactly... you see, you're going,
I don't fancy that one at the bottom's chances, if that's all right.
He knows he's about to be
coming.
sent.
That one behind him's just about to do that.
You have alpha females with meerkats, and in fact, they kill each other's children.
What?
Yes, they're pretty nasty animals when it comes to it, I'm afraid. They're not very nice at all. They're child murderers, to be perfectly honest.
Here are 3 young meerkats crossing the...
2 have spotted the vehicle.
The youngest one.
Barry did not.
Unfortunately, because of the adverts, a lot of people have bought them as pets, and they very soon abandon them because they're smelly, they're aggressive, and they attack people
Yeah,
they
but
don't know.
you know what? These
People are like
people have never died crossing a road, have they?
No, they haven't.
And the meerkat always worried that someone's about to kick them in the knackers.
Looks like someone's about to take a free kick, doesn't it?
It does.
The only thing that could make that picture even more gorgeous would be 3 tiny pianos.
Meerkats know each other by their calls individually, and you can send a meerkat almost insane by recording one meerkat's voice that it knows, playing it in a certain area, and then whizzing round to another area and playing it again. And
Why would you do that such a thing?
It's very mean, but they get utterly baffled by the fact...
Barry!
How can you be in 2 places at once? There is no meerkat called Barry, by the way, but it's an...
You could do that with a human voice, because we recognise everyone through their voices.
True,
as well,
but we
don't
also know about recordings. So that's probably yes.
Maybe you do. There was a time when only one person knew about recording. Oh, we had great fun.
Well, there you go. The meerkat road safety code is to send the kids across first. Now, Alan, why will you never eat my noodles?
It was bound to happen that this show would just become about you two.
Just haven't agreed on a fee, haven't you?
Remember, we're involving people from countries beginning with K.
Kenya.
Well, which have a particular association, perhaps, with noodles.
Kent.
Kent. Famous for the Kentish pasta. No, go east.
Korea.
Thank you, Josh. In Korea, noodles, of course, are very popular.
Of course.
And when will I eat your noodles means when are you getting married? In other words, when are you going to be throwing a party in which you will serve noodles? So it's just a Korean phrase. It's like saying, when are you going to tie the knot? When am I going to eat your noodles? Well, you're already married, so I'm not going to eat your noodles, and you didn't invite me.
I did invite you.
Oh, you did? No, that's right. I was abroad. I was abroad.
Yeah, you know what you were doing? You were filming an episode of Bone.
Yes, I was.
I've been so insulted in my life.
I'm so sorry. Oh, God, how embarrassing. I'm so sorry. Anyway, that's what it means. Here are some other Korean phrases, though. The other man's rice cake always looks bigger. What would be the British equivalent of that?
Oh, the grass is always greener.
Or as my uncle used to say, the other man's arse is always cleaner. If there are too many ferrymen on a boat, it will sail up a mountain.
Is that just literal?
Probably, but maybe.
If they say that in North Korea, the boat is going up the mountain.
That's true. There is
Too many cooks spoil the broth.
Too many cooks spoil the broth.
Stephen, tell me about your childhood.
OK, here's one. He worked as if he were tending the grave of his wife's uncle.
That's brilliant.
What would that mean?
I might start using that.
Not much.
Yes is the answer,
He did-
because
he did
in
fuck all.
Korea, it is your duty to tend the graves of your family. But the more distant the family, the less attention you give the grave. So all he was doing was just basically sprinkling a little bit of water on it's only his wife's uncle. Whereas his grandfather, his father, or his mother, he'd be putting flowers and being with great attention. So that's
So
what
like
that means.
shagging the dog.
Not really, Catherine. Is there something you want to share with us? Like shagging the dog.
Yeah, like if you don't work very hard, you're just shagging the dog.
Not in this country, madam. In this country, when we shag a dog, we know what we're doing. And it's pretty hard work, let me tell you.
Not as easy as it looks, I tell you that.
So in Canada, you have the phrase shagging the dog.
Yeah. Or like shagging the sheep if you want. Whatever.
That's not fine. Again, perfectly common practice over here, but not considered a light or unburdensome task.
It just means like having an easy day.
There's a lot I have to learn about Canada.
It's easy because with like a lady, you have to take her out to dinner or woo her a bit. But with the dog, it's just like, here, boy, come on.
You say that. You say that.
Yeah, once he's here, most of the work is still to be done in that situation.
Yes. I'm thinking it. Oh, let's move on. So, showing off your wrinkles to a silkworm?
You have found a silkworm in your underpants.
Silkworms are pretty wrinkly. So if you show your wrinkles to a silkworm, he's going to go, nah, I can do better than that. So it's like teaching your grandmother to suck eggs.
Oh,
that's what it means.
imagine how wrinkly a silkworm's knackers are.
Exactly. And finally, he disappeared like a fart through hemp pyjamas.
I think that one speaks for itself, doesn't it?
It's a Korean phrase. Awkwardly, basically. Embarrassingly, awkwardly, not with maximum grace. Now, who are these men and what did they have for breakfast?
The guy there, front left,
Yes.
he looks like he's having a Calippo for breakfast.
He does.
Very early Calippo commercial.
Very early Calippo commercial, absolutely right.
They got the lifestyle element of the Calippo commercial all wrong.
Calippos have changed.
One of us.
Bizarrely, when first made, they were for poor mining workers.
Well, this is a poor village.
Is that the Dales? Is it Yorkshire?
It's not.
Is it
It's,
the north?
it's remoter. It's British, but remote.
Is it Devon?
Hebrides.
The Hebrides is right, and it's the remotest of all of them,
Okay,
and the largest.
Seaweed? Do they eat seaweed?
They don't. They lived for 1,000 years. This community.
kittens.
These
On
men,
Calippos?
For 1,000 years, this community was isolated from Britain. They lived on gannets and skewers and puffins. It's the largest puffin colony in Britain, the largest gannet colony in the world. So can you think of the name of the island?
Is it? No, I can't.
It's St Kilda. St Kilda. And who was St Kilda? I'll give you 10 points if you can tell me.
patron saint of ducks.
Was St Kilda male or female?
Male.
No.
Female.
No. St Kilda was not a saint. It's merely, unfortunately, a sort of...
Font?
It's an Old Norse word for a shield, skjelda, and it just became St Kilda. But it's not a saint at all. So it's known as St Kilda. And it wasn't until 1930 the last 36 natives of St Kilda voluntarily left their ancestral home. But oddly enough, they were given jobs in the British Forestry Commission, and there hadn't been trees on St Kilda for 1,500 years. So none of the St Kildans had ever seen a tree before. No new jobs in forestry. What the fuck is that?
I imagine, because they're big. I mean, they really
Trees are big.
Orcs!
It's an...
Did they want to come to Britain?
Sorry?
When we brought them all over here in the 30s.
Yeah.
Weren't they resistant?
No, it was voluntary. I mean, this was a place that was so windy that literally sheep were blown off the cliffs. It's terribly sad. And there was one windy period where, for a week afterwards, they were all deaf. I mean, it was a pretty hostile climate.
I'm very confused because I feel like until you told me about the wind and the dead sheep, it sounded like a beautiful place to live.
And now,
Because it's sunny, and like in the 30s, nobody wanted to live here. No offense.
It now sounds a bit more like Canada, doesn't it, to be honest? Sorry, no.
And it's like, you know, they had all these delicious birds, like the original Nando's. I would like to live there.
Yeah.
I want to find a Kilder and see what they're about.
Yeah, I dare say you could visit it. What we saw was actually the Parliament, the men only, gathering. Wow. That's their Parliament, and they talk until...
Cabinet meeting.
Are they split down the middle by
They talk about what the issues of the
I'm
day...
holding the Calippo. It's my turn to speak.
The worst thing is that dog in the middle is the Prime Minister.
No, he's the Minister of Forestry. Anyway, let's move on. If you follow a cool grinder, where will it get you?
It's not, no. It's not that, no.
What?
No.
What
that
can you be
thing,
thinking?
that application.
I can't
That thing.
imagine what you're talking about.
Yes, you know. Turn it on now. How many are in the studio? I bet...
I imagine your outfit will set it off straight away.
I'm just bare-baked.
This is nothing to do with the gay man-on-man action app. No.
Okay.
Cool Grinder is spelled Kulgrinda. It's a rather remarkable thing that exists in the Baltic, particularly in Lithuania, but also in Kaliningrad.
Naturally occurring phenomenon?
No, it's a man-made phenomenon, which is a very cunning way of deceiving your enemies, running away from them or causing them to drown.
Making a Misty Folk thing?
No, what you do is you make stepping stones that are under the water, which are enough for you to stand on, but only you know where they are. The really cunning thing is how you lay them. In the winter, it's incredibly cold, so you get these huge stepping stones, put them in a line across the ice, and as the ice melts, they drop and form a line. And if they're big enough, you can actually drive a coach over them.
I mean, you've got to be pretty sure you're going to be chased soon to go to that trouble.
The Estonians and the Gradians were pretty often at war. There was a lot of war going on.
I think we will be chased in the summer.
They were often invaded.
Which way should we go? Over the river. I'm going to make a cool grinder. Will you help? Only if you're certain about this chase. Tell me more about it. Who's involved?
Basically, you set it up and then you start a game of it in about June.
The most famous one is the Sietuva swamp, which the Lithuanian explorer Ludwik Krzyzewski navigated by coach in 1903. And he wrote that at the deepest point, the water was up to the sides of his horse. So they're really impressive little things.
I'd say the most famous one is the one Jesus used to trick everyone in the Bible.
That's true. Cool Grinder are ingenious secret paths through Lithuanian swamps which allow you to make a quick getaway from your enemy, if necessary. What is there to say about long-necked Karen?
She's got lovely eyes.
You're always the first to see the knife.
One of those family fortunes ones, isn't it? We've had this before.
Oh, yes, survey said...
Name a bird with a long neck. The bloke goes, Naomi Campbell.
Well, this is clearly not Naomi.
No, emu.
Karen is the answer here. Who is this Karen?
Tom Cruise always likes girls, like tall girls with long necks, but then he doesn't let them wear heels around him.
No, because he is not the tallest man in the world.
Well, then why date the girls with the long necks?
So they can spot predators.
Also... Say again?
Oh, hello. Tribe? Is it a tribe?
Tribe.
The Karen tribe.
The Karen tribe.
Oh, hello. All right. Love to see you. Hiya. All right.
The neighbouring Tracy tribe. Tracy.
Stay away from Gary. Here come the Garys. Bothered.
But the tribe we're talking about are the Padung Karen tribe from...
Do they put rings around the
Exactly. Let's have a look at
extending
them.
over time.
There we are.
Oh,
My word.
wow.
Wow, isn't that impressive?
Looks like she's kind of been bred
impressive she
with a
takes it off.
slinky.
They're so-called giraffe.
At the end of the day,
Well, they can't at the end.
Beryl, why are the curtains on the... You know when you have a Jack in the Box ready to go?
Oh, yeah.
Ba-ding!
rather than go down, it just goes...
Well, the surprising thing is that X-rays show that their necks...
They can't get any more vertebrae, can they?
No, X-rays show their necks are not longer than normal people's.
Oh, what's going
We're all
on?
hunchy.
I mean, that does look quite long, but it's actually what's lower is the collarbone, or are the collarbones.
Wow.
They're supposed to wear them until they get married, but a lot of them keep them on forever. It's a sign of beauty, traditionally, although it's supposed also to protect them against tigers who will attack them by the neck. That's one theory.
And it was great. I always thought, okay, maybe they're like sacred. All right, it looks pretty. Tigers, I'm totally with it
Yeah,
now.
it's tiger-proof. It's
Put those
tiger-proof.
around your neck.
Exactly.
All right.
Most of them now live in Thailand, having fled Burma, and you can pay to go and see them. There's another nearby tribe who also wear brass coils, not only around their necks, but around their lower knees and arms.
I don't think this is so mad, really. I think I get it with the tigers. And
Yeah.
here you've got Katie Price doing loads of crazy stuff to her body and all her friends. And they look lovely, but they're like orange and they've got fake hair and fake nails. How is this worse?
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah. Points to Catherine, naturally, for that good observation. Now, where's the best place to keep a load of old rubbish from the 1980s?
My loft.
Your loft. No, this is a story you were not likely to know, but it is a 16-year voyage of a ship called the Kianxi, trying to offload rubbish from Pennsylvania. In 1986, it was loaded with 15,000 tons of non-toxic ash, bound for dumping in the Bahamas. So they said no. So they went to Puerto Rico, Bermuda, the Dominican Republic, Honduras, Guinea-Bissau, and the Netherlands Antilles. They all said no. Then they cunningly reclassified the cargo as topsoil fertilizer and managed to get rid of 4,000 tons of it in Haiti. And then they were rumbled and sent packing. So they then went to Senegal, Cape Verde, Yugoslavia, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and the Philippines, and then Singapore, where she was found to be empty. And then the captain and the ship's executives admitted they'd dumped the ash at sea and were jailed. And at the assistance of Haiti, the ship had to go back to pick up the 4,000 tons they'd left behind. So eventually, Pennsylvania, where it originated from, took it back, and in 2002, 16 years later, it was offloaded and taken by train to a landfill just 120 miles where it had originally come from. How impressive is that?
I quite like the idea of that boat sailing around, the captain with a teaspoon just going...
Like in a prison yard, bring it out the bottom
Yes,
of his trousers.
It wasn't toxic, it's just people didn't want American rubbish. Don't say anything. Name the nearest third world country.
Oh, steady. You get into all sorts of trouble.
Yes, you
oh,
could.
hello. I'm not going to make any jokes about our near neighbours on this fine island.
Let's just say it's as well that you didn't say Wales or Scotland.
I'm too scared to answer.
Let me give you the original definition of a third world nation, then you'll be less embarrassed, all right? French historian Alfred Sauvy.
France!
We jumped the gun, coined the phrase.
Oh, Stephen!
The third world. Le Monde Troisième. In 1952, it meant states not politically aligned with the USSR or the USA, i.e. the Soviet bloc, or with America. So any state that wasn't in some way politically aligned was called Third World. Now, which is the nearest one of those to us? France was, although it wasn't a member of NATO, it was politically aligned.
Ireland wasn't it?
Ireland is the right answer.
The one I was most afraid of saying.
Oh, you know. It's only more recently that it became a term meaning poverty. And nowadays, of course, it's not a politically correct word to use anyway. We don't say a third world country, we say
Developing.
the developing world,
We
exactly.
say a vibrant tourist destination.
Bravo. It's exactly what we say.
Unspoiled, we say.
Unspoiled, exactly. And finally, a really easy one. Does the Paris-Dakar rally start in Paris and end in Dakar, or start in Dakar and end in Paris?
Starts in France and ends in Africa.
Sorry. Anybody else?
Is it neither?
Yes.
Well, I know it ends in Africa.
It
so
doesn't.
I presumed it started
It doesn't
in France.
end in Africa.
Where's it end then?
In South America.
What the
heck now? The Paris-Dakar Rally has been held in South America for the last 5 years since threats in 2007 from Al-Qaeda. And so the organisers relocated it in South America, absolutely. The Mongol Rally starts in England and ends in Ulaanbaatar, which is the capital of outer Mongolia, as I'm sure you know.
I'd just take a mobile phone rather than doing that.
There you see
the problem is you can't get the signal.
It starts in London and ends in Ulaanbaatar. And what route does it take?
A2.
The fact is,
he's not wrong.
The fact is, anywhere you want to go, because there is no set route. You can just choose to go through whichever countries will allow you to get through them. They don't want to cramp the style of the rallyists. In India, there's a very good rally called the Blind Man's Car Rally, a 40-mile race in which blind navigators use a braille map. The drivers are sighted, but they must adhere to the directions given by the unsighted navigators who are using braille.
Even if they know it's going to be a collision. Left, left, left!
Anyway, now we have a knick-knack exploding custard powder experiment. For something to explode, you need certain things. You need something to light, in this case, custard powder. You need something to light it with, and you need oxygen. But you need a little bit more than that, because if I try and light this custard powder, you will see that nothing happens.
The trick custard powder!
It doesn't. The whole point is nothing happens.
Nothing would happen with that.
Because
I bet Heston could make it burn.
He couldn't in this state. No. What you need in order to get something like custard or any powder, even metallic powder, to burn and really burn, is one of these ordinary everyday objects like this. As you may see, I have a funnel and I have some safety glasses to save my beautiful eyelashes. And I have a lighter. And
I miss Jacques Cousteau.
And I have a pump. I have a pump that rather wants to fall over. So we'll raise this here so it doesn't fall over. Okay, now, what I'm going to do...
I don't want to know what you're going to do.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the custard powder in this funnel, and I'm going to present a flame across it. Yes. Yes. Be afraid, be very
Can I use
afraid.
Alan as a human shield?
No, you're the shield!
Oh my God.
There's flame. There's custard powder in there.
I feel the need! The need for speed!
All I need to do...
Where are you going? Where the fuck am I?
I'm going to the pump. I'm just going to the pump because I'm going to pump.
We are now nearer than you!
Can you see what I'm going to do? I'm pumping air.
There's just too many double entendres. You pumping custard.
Stop it. Are you ready for me to pump the custard?
Oh my God!
Oh, God.
Yes, I'm ready for you to pump your custard.
I need a countdown from the audience.
This is not how I wanted to go.
Audience, I want you to count me down from 3. 2, 1. Wasn't that dangerous? It's quite warm there, actually.
If I'd been sitting there, I could have been ignited. I could have been ignited.
You could have been covered in hot custard.
I told you before you did this experiment.
Which hot and exciting experiment brings me to the little matter of the scores, and they are fascinating. In last place, although he's played it so many times, with -9, is Phil Jupitus. A highly creditable third place with -8, Catherine Ryan. First appearance, second place with -7, it's Josh Widdicombe. Ladies and gentlemen, can you believe your ears? 14 points in the lead with +7 is Alan Davies. Enormous thanks to Catherine, Phil, Josh and Alan. Good night.